The Thom Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by the Aiden Forecast, an investment newsletter with weekly updates of leading market indicators and a monthly deep dive into what the details of the economy and the markets mean for investors and retirees. On the web at aidenmarkets.com.
Wines have some of the highest pesticide levels in our food chain. This hour brought to you by ecowine.com. Pesticide-free wines, organic wines, imported from France by the Organic Wine Company, ecowine.com.
The Thom Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by Super Beets. Super Beets are sourced from non-GMO beets, and they're packed with dietary nitrates, helping to produce nitric oxide for more energy, stamina, and support for healthy blood pressure levels naturally. For more information, call 800-223-8242 or visit freespeechbeets.com. And welcome back. Week 2 of our Free Speech TV fundraising drive. And, I've been trying to set our goals for $10,000 a day, and we made it one day last week. I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday. And the rest of the week was, it started at 4,000. We got as high as 6,000 or 7,000. But we're halfway there today. If you call today with a $10 gift, a $100 gift, a $1,000 gift, or whatever it may be, anything short of $7,000, it will be matched by a donor who has put up a $7,000 challenge grant for today only. So your $100 becomes $200. Your $360 becomes $720. It's your gift is magically doubled today. So please call now, 877-378-8669. Help us hit our goals so that we can keep this show on the air. We can keep this network on the air. We can keep the electrons flowing and the lights working and the information going. The number 877-378-8669, and if you can't donate anything, you can call and ask just to put your name on the mailing list. About every month or so, Free Speech TV sends out a little newsletter that kind of summarizes what's going on, and it's really useful. It's kind of a TV guide thing. So please check out check that out, 877-378-8669. You could also do it over at the website at freespeech.org. You can donate, or you can sign up for the newsletter and become a member of Free Speech TV, essentially. But the important thing right now, in addition to telling your friends about free speech and spreading the good word, the really important thing right now is to call now and make a contribution today. Today we're trying to really break our record and go for, if we can have a $15,000 day, it cleans up all of last week, and then going forward we can do really well too, hopefully. So please call now, 877-378-8669, with a $60 gift. If you name this program, you get a Free Speech TV water bottle. With a $120 gift, you get a copy of Sarah Van Gelder's new book, The Revolution Where You Live, Stories from a 12,000-Mile Journey Through a New America. Sarah Van Gelder, the former, I think she still is, the editor of Yes Magazine. And she was on this program a few weeks ago talking about this book. It's a remarkable book. With a $150 contribution, which again gets doubled to $300. You don't have to put up the $300, but this donor who has made up to a $7,000 match will put in $150 to match your $150, so it becomes $300. With a $150 gift, and that's true of any giving level. With a $150 gift, you get the book by Sarah Van Gelder, The Revolution Where You Live. Where is it? There it is. And the Spirit of Standing Rock DVD, which is really great. With a $240 gift, you get this Spirit of Standing Rock DVD. You get the Free Speech TV water bottle. You get a Free Speech TV grocery bag. You get the Free Speech TV bumper sticker. So all kinds of goodies with a $240 gift. With a $360 gift, you get the Revolution Where You Live book, the Free Speech TV grocery bag, the Free Speech TV hat, the Free Speech TV hand fan, the Free Speech TV bumper sticker, and with a $1,000 gift, come to Washington, D.C., and I'll take you out we'll have pizza. They got good gluten-free pizza, actually, right down the street here. Or, whatever we all decide to do. So we'll have, just come to D.C. and we're trying to get a couple donors together at a time, not a big group, just a small 2, 3, 4 people, something like that, and have a nice, pleasant afternoon together or lunch together. And that's with a $1,000 gift. And coming to D.C., I had never lived in D.C. before. I've commuted through D.C. I've done business in D.C., but I'd never played tourist in this town in all my years. And in fact, it was really probably 2 years after we moved here that the family came to visit, and we said, oh, well, let's go play tourist, and discovered this incredible city. 34 Smithsonian museums, all of them totally free. It's really amazing, and very rarely are there even any lines. I mean, it's just because everything is just designed to move people through, and the Air and Space Museum and the Natural History Museum, the African American Museum, the Native American Museum, the Portrait Gallery. It's amazing. The Hirshhorn. I mean, it's just an extraordinary city. So come to D.C. and we'll have lunch with a $1,000 gift. So those are the levels at which you will receive some kind of goodies in exchange for donating. But the important goodie is Free Speech TV continues. We want this network to continue and to strengthen. And so, whatever you were thinking about giving, say you're thinking about, making a $120 contribution, well, maybe you can make that $150. It's up to you. Obviously, I don't want to put anybody in economic distress here, but a little bit of help, just a few extra dollars here and there on every gift. And pretty soon, we're not just keeping the lights on, we're adding another show. We're building a network. I would love to see Free Speech TV get to the point where, like Fox News, they're just running 24/7 continuous and real programming. Let's make that happen. 877-378-8669. Thanks so much for your support of Free Speech TV, and thanks especially today.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Greetings, my friends, patriots, lovers of democracy, truth, and justice, believers in peace, freedom, and the American way. Happy Monday. Thom Hartmann here with you. Wow. You ever heard of Philip Anschutz? I may be mispronouncing his last name. I've never actually heard it, which is how rarely it gets mentioned on the air, or how rarely I watch television. But Phil Anschutz is a billionaire. He inherited, he made his money the old-fashioned way, just like the Koch brothers did. He inherited it from his father. And then he built it into a telecommunications, railroad, real estate, resort, sports team, stadium, movie, and conservative publication empire. According to Charlie Savage and Julie Turkowitz in the New York Times, is the headline, Neil Gorsuch has a web of ties to a secretive billionaire. Neil Gorsuch is going to be, the hearings begin today. Right now, the hearing that is going on is FBI Director Comey and the NSA director, and they're basically trying to nail him down with regard to, is Donald Trump a traitor? Is he owned by the Russians? And I mean, that's really the ultimate question, right? Do they have something on him? Because nobody can figure out why he would want to have good relations with Russia. And, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, you've got Paul Manafort and others who had connections to Russia early on. So it's providing some interesting grist for the mill. But that's going on right now. And basically the message that Comey's putting forward is, we're not going to tell you. We've got an ongoing investigation. We're not talking. But the other thing that's going to be happening today, and it's going to be happening shortly, is that today is just the opening statements. Neil Gorsuch, whose mother Anne tried to destroy the Environmental Protection Agency and resigned after 3 years in the middle of a scandal in 1983. She was put in there by Ronald Reagan the same way that Scott Pruitt was put in by Donald Trump, specifically an opponent and enemy of the administration, or of the Environmental Protection Agency, the agency, to ruin it. And this was when he was in high school. When he was in high school, his high school yearbooks, his slogan was from Henry Kissinger: "The illegal we do immediately, the unconstitutional takes a little longer." Right. What 17-year-olds are thinking like that? Oh, yeah, mommy's in the Reagan administration. So how did Gorsuch become the guy who's going to be on the Supreme Court? Well, it's really interesting. I mean, if you back up a little bit just to the list of people for the court that was put together by the Trump administration. This from a piece by Christopher Kang, K-A-N-G, over at Huffington Post, titled "Gorsuch's Rise Raises Concerns Regarding His Independence." During the presidential campaign, Trump made an unprecedented decision to release a list of Supreme Court finalists. And he outsourced the selection to the Federalist Society and the Heritage Foundation. They came back with a list of 11 judges, and none of them was Neil Gorsuch. That was in May. Then in September, he came up with another list. This had 10 more names. And guess who's on the list? Judge Gorsuch. In fact, according to the Weekly Standard, which, by the way, is owned by Philip Anschutz, quote, a main reason for the second list was to put Gorsuch's name on it, but by adding 10 more names, it didn't create a stir or look like favoritism. So what happened in those intervening 4 months? Well, you know, apparently there was an intervention, shall we say. Gorsuch has been the patron, essentially, of this billionaire for apparently most of his life. In January 2006, a top lawyer for Mr. Anschutz sent a letter on the billionaire's behalf to President George W. Bush's White House counsel, Harriet Miers, suggesting that Bush nominate Gorsuch. He did. That's how he got on the federal bench. For nearly a dozen years, Gorsuch was partners in a limited liability company with two of Mr. Anschutz's top lieutenants. Together, they own a 40-acre property on the Colorado River in the mountains northwest of Denver, where they built a vacation home together. Anschutz is 77, by the way. His fortune is estimated to be $12.6 billion. As a lawyer, Charlie Savage and Julie Turkowitz write, as a lawyer at a Washington law firm in the early 2000s, Judge Gorsuch represented Mr. Anschutz, his companies, and lower-ranking business executives as an outside counsel. In 2006, Mr. Anschutz successfully lobbied Colorado's lone Republican senator and the Bush administration to nominate Judge Gorsuch to the federal appeals court. So this is, you know, how to build a career and become a Supreme Court justice. Have a billionaire on your side who repeatedly lobbies multiple administrations from the Reagan administration forward or the Bush administration forward to put your young man on the federal bench. And it has worked. And then, you know, what about his judicial rulings? Do they benefit Mr. Anschutz? Well, according to the New York Times, this again from this piece by Savage and Turkowitz, a 2004 case was typical. A teacher's retirement fund that owned shares in the Regal Entertainment Theater chain sued over that chain's decision to issue a debt-financed dividend. In other words, the company, Regal Entertainment, they wanted to borrow money so that they could give that money to their stockholders, which would have included their major stockholder, Philip Anschutz. He owned 58% of the company. So they could give him $368 million. The company decided that they were going to borrow $368 million to give to billionaire Philip Anschutz, and the other stockholders said, hey, wait a minute, and they sued. They said this amounts to self-dealing. Back to the New York Times, Judge Gorsuch helped win a ruling in Regal's favor by arguing that the company could handle the extra debt, telling a judge this company is what some analysts call a cash cow. Right. I mean, it goes on. There's a lot of concerns about Judge Gorsuch. In 2006, when the Bush administration, Harriet Miers was lobbied by the billionaire's colleagues to get on. And this is back to the piece by Christopher Kang in the Huffington Post. In January 2006, there was an opening on the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals, and on January 10th, 2006, the Denver Post reported that there were 3 finalists, all women. No mention of Gorsuch. This is no surprise. At the time, the 12-member court had only 2 female judges. Colorado had never had a female circuit judge and still doesn't. What is surprising is that 2 days after the Denver Post article, Anschutz's lawyer sent the White House a letter on Anschutz's behalf recommending Gorsuch, and 3 weeks later, Gorsuch was interviewing with the White House counsel. By mid-March, Bush had approved his nomination subject to background clearances. So it's like, and Gorsuch,
When he was working for Bush, he developed the talking points to defend the use of torture. In fact, he said, would I approve waterboarding? You bet your ass I would. Verbatim quote from Neil Gorsuch. He was the co-director of Virginia Lawyers for Bush Cheney. In November 2004, he oversaw legal teams in eastern and central Ohio for the Bush-Cheney campaign. This is 2004. This is the one where in Ohio, Ken Blackwell essentially stole the election from John Kerry. Poor neighborhoods, black neighborhoods got no voting machines or got so few that the lines were 10, 12, 14 hours long. They had over 100,000 spoiled, unmarked, unread ballots. They were marked, unread ballots, unopened ballots, provisional ballots. Huge voter suppression. And the vote was counted on a Republican-controlled server in Kentucky instead of in Ohio. So what did Gorsuch say about this? What a magnificent result for the country. For me personally, the experience was invigorating and a great deal of fun. And Christopher Kang notes the experience for up to 15,000 people unable to vote just in Columbus, Ohio, because lines stretched for hours was probably less invigorating or fun. Right. So here is this guy, riding on his white horse into the Supreme Court. And that horse was provided to him by a billionaire at every step along the way in his legal career. He is, wholly a creation of right-wing conservative America. And I'm just waiting for him to start, taking some of these positions. For example, how is he going to, and he's not going to testify until tomorrow and Wednesday, so it's going to get real interesting tomorrow and Wednesday. Today it's just going to be opening statements by the senators. Every senator gets his, gold star and his or her 15 minutes to pontificate. But Betsy DeVos and Mick Mulvaney both used poor people as their excuse for right-wing policies. Betsy DeVos, we've got poor kids in the inner cities. We want to make sure that they have school choice. Right, so we're going to do vouchers and things like that. Well, vouchers don't help poor people, generally speaking, because they're typically not enough to pay for an entire education. And where they are, very often the options are somewhat limited. The main thing that vouchers do is they subsidize upper middle class people who want to send their kids to religious or private schools. That's the principal purpose of vouchers. So Betsy DeVos doesn't acknowledge that. She says, we're trying to help the poor people. Mick Mulvaney, he says, I can't ask a coal miner in West Virginia or a single mother in Detroit to pay for the, for a whole bunch of different programs in general, but specifically, what was the program he was talking about? As I recall. Yeah, no, I don't think it was the NEA. It was whatever it was. I don't think it was arts. We'll get into that later, but yeah, it was Meals on Wheels. Thank you. But the fact of the matter is that coal miner and that single mom are not paying for Meals on Wheels to begin with. They're not paying that much in income taxes. If anything, it's the billionaires who are paying for it. And so when Mick Mulvaney and Betsy DeVos and soon to be Neil Gorsuch, when they talk about, hey, we're looking out for the little guy, when Donald Trump says in front of his campaign audience, last week in wherever he was, in Maryland, it was in Tennessee, when he says, we're going to cut taxes, and all these middle-class people are cheering, sorry, suckers, you might get $10 out of this, but the billionaires, they're going to get millions, hundreds of millions, because that's what's really going on here. What's really going on here is this is an by and for the billionaires campaign, and administration, rather, excuse me. And, whether it's their nominee for the Supreme Court or the billionaires and of the billionaires, right? Whether it's billionaire Betsy DeVos, whether, you name it. This is the billionaire cabinet, the billionaire administration, and the billionaire Republican Party.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Back with more of the news of the day and your calls right after this. It's coming up on 18 minutes past the hour. And welcome back. Misty in Glen Ellen, California. Hey, Misty, what's up?
Hey, Tom. It's so good to talk with you. Listen, everybody's worrying about Trump. Trump is the smokescreen. In my opinion, the people we need to be worried about and focused on are those the Pence and the Ryans and all the things that the Republicans have been talking about for years. We've got to build up in policing. The Trump talked to the nation's police captains and said, "I'm going to support you." And now, I think the people need to, circle the wagons, get their kids in programs to keep them off the streets. Black people spend, and I'm speaking for black people right now, but billions of dollars in this country. Yet we'd rather buy new cars, new shoes, long fingernails, hair weaves, instead of getting those kids, sheltered in programs. I came up through the 60s when there were programs in the neighborhoods in the South, and the kids didn't. They focused on cleanups and helping the community. The crime rate went down. I don't care what the statistics said, because I was among them in the streets dancing, because they'd have street parties. And for me, I get so disgusted when I think of the billions of dollars that are spent. And Mexican, Asians, we have got to, we can't wait on Trump. We've got to protect ourselves. And so the Pence and the Ryans and all the ways that they want to take from those of us who have struggled so hard thanks to the civil rights movement and other people like you who stood with us. And, we've got to honor that and keep pushing and use our resources to protect ourselves.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Although I am concerned, hey, let's not knock people for using hair weaves. I mean, particularly people who are down, who are being attacked essentially, well, and literally on a regular basis. That can really do a number on your self-esteem. And if just getting back to being, feeling like standing up straight means doing something for your appearance, that's not necessarily a luxury, is it, Misty?
It's a choice.
I understand that.
It's a choice. I had a choice when I was a singer. I was in England because of people who made it possible for me to do things like that. I had a choice when I learned that the black people who had been colonized, and I know you're a lover of history as I am, the black people who had been colonized were treated much worse than I was, simply because they came from a culture in which the British had dominated. But I'm from Texas, and, please speak Texas for us, and blah, blah, blah. And I was, uplifted. I said, I would rather walk with those who are downcast and lift them up, because when I lift them up, I lift myself up. So you have a choice. You can either, if you're beautiful on the inside, people will see it on the outside.
Yeah, good point. Misty, thank you for the call, and thanks for sharing your perspective with us. I think it's a useful and important one, and it speaks even to the arts, which we're going to talk about in the second hour of our program. Thank you, Misty. Great to hear from you. It's 22 minutes past the hour. Stick around. We'll be right back.
This year's election results have generated fear, sadness, and despair.
In the days and months ahead,
our democracy may face a crisis of historic proportions.
But there is good news.
There is good news.
There is good news. Thousands of people are stepping forward in solidarity,
resistance,
and resolve.
We join them.
We join them.
We join them.
In standing with the most vulnerable communities among us.
Those most likely to be targeted by new restrictions and policies.
We will tell their stories here.
Here
on Free Speech TV.
We will lift their voices here
on Free Speech TV.
In the difficult times ahead, know that we will be with you
24 hours a day.
Every day.
You are not alone.
You are not alone.
You are not alone.
There are millions of us.
Raising our voices and hearts together as one.
We've got your back.
We got your back.
Free Speech TV's got your back.
The revolution is in progress.
Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. I'm just continually astonished. I don't know how to say it beyond that, really, by the way that these guys, these people, these so-called conservatives, pitch their whole sales pitch as, well, you know, you're going to take away my money for something I don't like. Well, okay. You and I are average income in the United States, $50,000 a year. Okay, actually, that's not average. That's household income. That's typically with, you know, what, 2.2 people are now working, I think, on average in American households. So probably the average is around $25,000 a year. But the average household around, you know, $44,000, $45,000 a year. If you're making that, then you're paying $575 a year in federal income taxes to support the Pentagon. And Donald Trump wants to raise that. And by about $50, and you're paying $368 in corporate welfare to companies like ExxonMobil and Koch Industries and Walmart. PBS is costing you $1.37. All the federal art programs are costing you 46 cents. All the support for museums, colleges, and libraries is costing you 46 cents. Helping support minority businesses in America, that's costing you 11 cents. I'm talking per year. Supporting entrepreneurship and innovation, it's costing you 66 cents. Community policing, if we did it, if we wanted to go back to Bill Clinton's, you know, put 100,000 cops on the beat, not in the SWAT team, not in the, you know, in their cars, but on the beat, that would cost 88 cents, right? Due process. Do you want to support, attorneys, you know, free legal advice, free attorney services for poor and indigent people? It's a core American value. That costs you $1.55 a year. And someday you may need it, right? Someday, I mean, this is true of all of us. Do we want a civil rights division in the Justice Department? It's costing us 48 cents a year. Do we want to defend Mother Earth? That's costing us 38 cents a year. Do we want to stop climate change? That's costing the average working family in America 3 cents a year. $0.03 a year. But see, when you look at it from the point of view of somebody like Anschutz or the Koch brothers, all of those, I mean, put a whole bunch of zeros behind those numbers. They're probably spending thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands a year in tax dollars to support PBS, to support the arts, to support, you know, working to stop climate change. Oh my God, we can't have that. We've got to have tax cuts for billionaires, right? And we've got to kill these programs. We'll be back.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
By the way, that list was from a tweet by Steve Silberman, Silberman. Check it out on Twitter. We'll be back. And welcome back. Week 2 of our Free Speech TV fundraising drive. And, you know, I've been trying to set our goals for $10,000 a day, and we made it one day last week. I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday. And the rest of the week was, you know, it started at 4,000. We got as high as 6,000 or 7,000. But we're halfway there today. If you call today with a $10 gift, a $100 gift, a $1,000 gift, or whatever it may be, anything short of $7,000, it will be matched by a donor who has put up a $7,000 challenge grant for today only. So your $100 becomes $200. Your $360 becomes $720. It's your gift is magically doubled today. So please call now, 877-378-8669. Help us hit our goals so that we can keep this show on the air. We can keep this network on the air. We can keep the electrons flowing and the lights working and the information going. The number 877-378-8669, and if if you can't donate anything, you can call and ask just to put your name on the mailing list. About every month or so, Free Speech TV sends out a little newsletter that kind of summarizes what's going on, and it's really useful. It's kind of a TV guide thing. So please check out check that out, 877-378-8669. You can also do it over at the website at freespeech.org. You can donate, or you can sign up for the newsletter and become a member of Free Speech TV, essentially. But the important thing right now, in addition to telling your friends about free speech and spreading the good word, the really important thing right now is to call now and make a contribution today. Today we're trying to really break our record, and go for, if we can have a $15,000 day, it cleans up all of last week, and then going forward we can do really well too, hopefully. So please call now, 877-378-8669, with a $60 gift. If you name this program, you get a Free Speech TV water bottle. With a $120 gift, you get a copy of Sarah Van Gelder's new book, The Revolution Where You Live, Stories from a 12,000-Mile Journey Through a New America. Sarah Van Gelder, the former, or actually I think she still is, the editor of Yes Magazine. And she was on this program a few weeks ago talking about this book. It's a remarkable book. With a $150 contribution, which again gets doubled to $300. Not you don't have to put up the $300, but this donor who has made up to a $7,000 match will put in $150 to match your $150, so it becomes $300. With a $150 gift, and that's true of any giving level. With a $150 gift, you get the book by Sarah Van Gelder, The Revolution Where You Live. Where is it? There it is. And the Spirit of Standing Rock DVD, which is really great. With a $240 gift, you get this Spirit of Standing Rock DVD. You get the Free Speech TV water bottle. You get a Free Speech TV grocery bag. You get the Free Speech TV bumper sticker. So all kinds of goodies with a $240 gift. With a $360 gift, you get the Revolution Where You Live book, the Free Speech TV grocery bag, the Free Speech TV hat, the Free Speech TV hand fan, the Free Speech TV bumper sticker, and with a $1,000 gift, come to Washington, D.C., and I'll take you out we'll have pizza. They got good gluten-free pizza, actually, right down the street here. Or, whatever we all decide to do. So we'll have, just come to D.C. and we're trying to get a couple donors together at a time, not a big group, just a small, 2, 3, 4 people, something like that, and have a nice, pleasant afternoon together, or lunch together. And that's with a $1,000 gift. And coming to D.C., I had never lived in D.C. before. I've commuted through D.C. I've done business in D.C., but I'd never played tourist in this town in all my years. And in fact, it was really probably 2 years after we moved here that the family came to visit, and we said, oh, well, let's go play tourist, and discovered this incredible city. 34 Smithsonian museums, all of them totally free. It's really amazing, and very rarely are there even any lines. I mean, it's just because everything is just designed to move people through, and the Air and Space Museum and the Natural History Museum, the African American Museum, the Native American Museum, the Portrait Gallery. It's amazing. The Hirshhorn. I mean, it's just an extraordinary city. So come to D.C. and we'll have lunch with a $1,000 gift. So those are the levels at which you will receive some kind of goodies in exchange for donating. But the important goodie is Free Speech TV continues. We want this network to continue and to strengthen. And so, whatever you were thinking about giving, say you're thinking about, making a $120 contribution, well, maybe you can make that $150. It's up to you. Obviously, I don't want to put anybody in economic distress here, but a little bit of help, just a few extra dollars here and there on every gift. And pretty soon, we're not just keeping the lights on, we're adding another show. We're building a network. I would love to see Free Speech TV get to the point where, like Fox News, they're just running 24/7 continuous and real programming. Let's make that happen. 877-378-8669. Thanks so much for your support of Free Speech TV, and thanks especially today.
Want to connect with the show online? You can find the Thom Hartmann Program on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you, and Denise in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Hey, Denise, what's on your mind today?
Hi, Tom. I'm at Costco checking out, so I apologize for that, but I'll be done real quick. But anyway, thank you for all that you do. Anyway, I just wanted to say that I came to a conclusion the other middle of the night that all the fake news that is being talked about is, out of Trump's mouth. So when he says it's fake news and all these other people listen to his cause, they're just listening to his words. And I wish that we wouldn't now spend so much time on his fake news, because obviously it does become news.
Yeah. But Denise, here's the problem. I'm sorry, finish your thought.
Well, no, and that's pretty much it. It just occurred to me that that's what fake news is his mouth.
Yeah. Well, it goes beyond that. And the problem that Donald Trump is facing, and now because he's president, the problem that the entire nation is facing, is that Fox so-called news is actually a right-wing cult. And, they've got some very, very articulate cult leaders on, Bill O'Reilly, Sean Hannity at the top of the list, who literally create an alternative reality for people who are regular Fox News and Fox and Friends in the morning, who literally create an alternative reality. Back, prior to my writing a book, The Crash of 2016, that has a whole chapter on it about Roger Ailes and how Fox was originally conceived during the Nixon administration and referred to as GOP TV, and by Roger Ailes, who took it to Nixon, and Nixon said, no, I can't get the money for this. And so Ailes took that, shopped it around billionaires and finally found a billionaire who would fund it. That was Rupert Murdoch. But the reality is that, as we know from the Northwestern University study from 3 years ago, I think it was, that people who watch Fox News not only know less about what's going on in the world than people who watch any other news channel, but they know more things that are not true. They believe more things that are not true than do people who watch any other news channel or people who get no news at all, people who just watch sports or occasionally read a newspaper. And the reason why, of course, is in order to maintain this cult following, in order to maintain this sense of victimhood, this siege mentality, they have to constantly be creating boogeymen. They have to constantly be elevating the other, and creating fear. And they do that by lying, by just, straight out making crap up. And the problem, MediaMatters.org is a website that has been devoted for the better part of a decade or more to just debunking Fox News. And they literally do it every day. So, that was kind of a cancer in our media prior to now. But now it's gotten really bad because Donald Trump, when he wants to know what's going on in the world, he does not call the FBI or the CIA and say, hey, guys, come on in and brief me. He doesn't call up his national security director and say, hey, is it possible to wiretap Trump Tower? If so, how? Or could it have been done? Or for that matter, did Barack Obama do it? Did President Obama do it? No, he doesn't do that. Instead, he turns on the TV, watches Fox News, and he believes what they say. And both of these so-called scandals, all this, oh, my God, Obama's after me stuff, both of them one originated with Mark Levin on Right Wing Hate Radio, and migrated from there to Breitbart, and migrated from there to Fox News, and from there into Donald Trump's brain, out his mouth, into his Twitter account, and to the world. So what has happened is that Donald Trump has now become the major amplifier of America's major source of right-wing disinformation. And so now we and the rest of the world are having to scramble to say, no, the British intelligence did not spy on Trump Tower. No, just the list goes on and on. All these outrageous things that he has said that he got from Fox News. This has become a serious problem for our democracy. I've been arguing for years that Fox News is a serious problem for our democracy because, and I wouldn't have a problem with it if Fox News did what WorldNet Daily does with their television network and simply said conservative points of view, right? Let's be honest about who we are and what our point of view is.
Our point of view is that, we're conservatives, and so, now you're getting the conservative. Instead, Fox pretends that they are the only news media that's actually telling the truth. And that's really dangerous when that happens. I don't see that kind of insularity going on in any other network. MSNBC and CNN, at the very least, they say, wow, we're trying to present our point of view, or we're trying to present the American point of view, as it were. RT occasionally in their programming, particularly their news programming, you will clearly get the Russian point of view. That's what you expect. It's RT, right? If it's in the news, if it's in my show, it's not. But if you're watching France 24, you're going to get the French point of view. If you're watching the BBC, you're going to get the British point of view. I mean, we know Al Jazeera, you're going to get the a Middle Eastern, principally Sunni point of view. You'll get the news, you'll get other things, but with Fox News, they're pretending to be the only unbiased news in America when they are the most biased news in America. And that has now caused this president to step in it more than once, and it's a real problem for all of us. Denise, thank you for providing the foundation for my rant. I appreciate the call. Thank you very much. Thanks for listening to Sirius XM. Mike in Los Angeles. Hey, Mike, what's up?
Hey, Tom. Just wanted to tell the curious story of how my visual Trump joke was censored by officials in Britain when I was over there for a rugby tourney. Six Nations rugby. They have a lot of matches between those Six Nations, and it's sort of traditional. People will put up some sort of a gag placard and get a fraction of a second of airtime. Mm-hmm. So I had this leftover Trump mask from Halloween, and did myself up with a black jacket, the red tie, and the whole bit. And you may have heard that Mr. Trump has been denied an official state visit so far because thousands of people are petitioning Parliament to deny it. And
millions.
Visit. Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
So the first sign that I held up in the Principality Stadium in Cardiff, wearing the Trump mask, said, "This is Buckingham Palace? Sad." And a lot of pats on the back and loads of people taking pictures, which I am guessing they put on the internet.
Yeah.
The way things go nowadays. No big deal. Had a nice little laugh and walked out. That was on the 10th. The next day, it was Twickenham in England. And before I went in... Beg pardon?
It was what?
Twickenham.
Well, I don't know what Twickenham is.
It's a place name, London suburb.
Oh, this is where you were. You were in Twickenham.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the following day. And before going in, I carefully read all the rules that are posted there of conduct. And then, of course, went through the security check where they, wanted to see everything I was carrying. And they saw these placards and said, "What's that?" I said, "Placards." And they just let me on in. And I had a very good seat, very visible spot. And so at halftime, I put on the mask and held up the placard that said, "Watch me," not Ruggie. And again, a lot of people are taking pictures. And the reverse side of it said, "I'm your fault." And so the first placard, of course, was photographed most before I turned it around. A few minutes later, the station attendant comes up wearing the ordinary attendant's yellow vest, and he says, I hate to say this, but you have to surrender that placard or you'll be ejected.
Whoa.
I was so shocked for this happening in Britain that I couldn't think of a sensible thing to do, like demand a receipt or the name of the person who's ordering this. So I just handed over the placard and said at the top of my lungs, "I thought I was in England." So off he went. I continued to wear the mask and didn't think that much of it. But then a few minutes later, another attendant comes up wearing the orange supervisor's vest, very angry looking, and he says, "They tell me you have another sign. You'll have to hand it over. You'll be ejected physically." And I say, "Well, who says?" And he says, "The police in the high box." And this was a little bit astounding, of course. So I told him they already took the second placard that's on the back of the first one. Then it occurs to me, he sort of slinks away, like the little dog that's been challenging the big dog, and the big dog doesn't back off. So well, wait a minute. They already have both placards. Who is it that's ordering this that doesn't even know they already have both? And I concluded it has to be somebody from outside the stadium probably somebody who's monitoring internet.
Right.
So
we saw both feeds, yeah.
Yeah. Well, during the following week, of course, Trump made a fool of himself by accusing the British version of the NSA of tapping his phones.
Right.
And so then it was the 18th, Saturday. This was the next match in Edinburgh. And I pulled the same act again. This time, the sign said, "It's no fun to stroke cats who want it." And people seemed to be amused by that. But there was no stadium official to greet me. It just went on, very peacefully.
Yeah.
So I can't, draw any conclusions about cause and effect here, but it's a curious.
Well, England does not have an absolute right to free speech, and in fact, they have a long history of restraining speech, by with a little bit of an outlet, in which park is it in Washington, in London, where you can stand on the soapbox in the corner and speak? Is it Hyde Park? I don't think so. Well, whatever it is. Mike, good luck. That was great. Thanks for the story. Thanks for sharing that with us. That's fascinating. We'll be back.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
We'll be back with more of your calls right after this. Sticker. And welcome back. Yeah, the London Speakers Corner is in Hyde Park. It's over in a corner of the park where there's a soapbox. Sure enough. Fascinating. John in Minneapolis. Hey, John, what's on your mind today?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring to your attention a very interesting article that I read on The Nation online, and it's Fear of Diversity is the title of the article. Fear of diversity made people more likely to vote for Donald Trump. And this is from a political scientist, Jason McDaniel, and he studies urban politics and voting behavior. And he came to the conclusion that there is actually a big change among white voters that voted for Obama, that voted for Trump, that for some reason are very afraid of black, brown, and immigrant people. And this is their motivation. And it seems like it really is a good article because I think that is exactly what Donald Trump is doing. It's not economic issues. In other words, it's actually just racism.
Yeah, it's reverse identity politics.
Yeah, and I see this even in my own politics here in Minnesota where a lot of new Republicans, because he brought in, our state legislature is now both houses majority Republican, and there was one Republican who was quoted in the newspaper as saying that the cultural values of Minneapolis are drastically out of alignment with greater Minnesota. And, I have lived here for 23 years, and I would say that that's true, but who are they to dictate to us what our values are? But they are going to attempt to do that, even though I'm sure Dayton will, probably veto most of their legislation, like they don't want allow us to have the $15 an hour minimum wage ordinance. They want to ban us from, banning plastic bags. And as a bicyclist, they want to charge me a fee for using bike lanes, which I think is totally ridiculous. And, of course, I've spent a lot of time on the phone leaving messages and talking to people. And I just thought, well, who are they to tell me what Minnesota values are, number one? And I think it's just dog whistle politics that they don't like the fact that we have a huge Somali population here.
Absolutely. Well, it goes beyond, John, in your setup to this. You said for some reason these Republican voters are afraid of black and brown people. And it's not a for some reason. It's because of the hard right propaganda that is being on a daily basis spouted by right-wing hate radio, Fox so-called news, and other right-wing outlets. Breitbart used to have an entire section titled Black on Black Crime, or Black Crime. Maybe it was just Black Crime. And you know, it's not an accident that white people are, I mean, obviously there's something that goes way, way back on this, right? But in modern day, it's not an accident that white people are convinced that black people and brown people are you know, more crime, you know, intellectually inferior, blah, blah, blah. These are the memes that are constantly being put out by the right-wing hate machine. And it's because they need an enemy. You know, it's the old Superman thing. Superman would be boring without Lex Luthor. And you know, the right, they need an enemy, and they've decided that the enemy is people of color. And, you know, it's worked really well for the right for years and years. It worked when it was the Democratic Party's thing back in the 30s and 40s. It's worked really well since then. John, thanks for the call. You're spot on. Everything you said. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. Director Comey has now confirmed that the FBI is looking into whether, how, what, all that kind of stuff. Russia may have involved itself in our elections, which is good. I'd love to see the result of that investigation. And they're also looking into whether Donald Trump or anybody in his administration had any ties to the Russian government, which is also good. I mean, let's get this. The charges are out there. Let's get this stuff out and find out what exactly is going on. Meanwhile, I've got a new piece up on on alternate.org about how Marco Rubio stripped Obamacare back a year and a half ago. I've talked about it on this program a number of times. Finally decided, you know, damn it, I need to write this down. So I did. So if you want to see that, it's up on alternate.org. Bob in Boston. Hey, Bob, what's up?
Well, thank you for putting that piece up. That's what my call was about. It just drives me out of my mind. Every single time the Republicans get on the TV or on the radio, the first words out of their mouth are Obamacare is a disaster, it's collapsing. And not one Democrat, or at least very few Democrats, have ever come on to counter that and explain the reasons why Obamacare is in trouble.
Right.
And that's, as you say, the risk corridors.
Right. Rubio nuked the risk corridors. The risk corridors. Now the Republicans are just fine with risk corridors on Medicare Part D. They promise the drug companies that they will make them whole if they offer, and you know, of course they're jacking their prices up so they don't use it that much, but still, they put risk corridors into Medicare Part D, no problem. Put them into Obamacare, we can't have that. That's welfare for big corporations. And you know,
the Democrats are doing nothing to counter it.
I know.
I can't understand why Obama doesn't take the airwaves and say, look, stop with the baloney here. Just stop with the baloney. It's not collapsing. But the Republicans have got everybody convinced that it's about to implode.
Yep.
And that's just hiding the fact that they've had 6 or 7 years to come up with a plan that's better, and they're running around like a bunch of Keystone cops.
Yep. Or worse. Yeah. Yeah, I'm totally with you, Bob. And, you know, for more details on that, go to alternate.org and look at the article that I wrote. Bob, thank you for the call, and thanks for your confirmation. Lenny in Phoenix, Arizona, listening on KPHX. Hey, Lenny, what's on your mind?
Hi there, Tom. I've called in before, and I actually had the honor of meeting you one time on a tour out here in Phoenix with KPHX 1480. But
great.
The reason I'm here is I'm here because at the state legislature having a Save Meals on Wheels rally. I know USA Today said that the funding sources aren't clear, but the point is when you have a public official working for Trump come out and say that a program like Meals on Wheels is irrelevant,
right.
Hunger is not ever irrelevant. And Tom, you may not know or know, but here at the Arizona legislature, because we're run by right-wing extremists, they pass resolutions such as killing the EPA to send to Congress. They pass resolutions for nuclear power, et cetera. So all I'm asking is basically I'm going to be going to every Democrat and every senator here Monday through Thursday, my friends on social media, to ask all of them, Republicans like the Democrats, to sign a pledge saying not only do they support Meals on Wheels, but they will not ever take a vote that will cut one red penny from Meals on Wheels. So, and the politicians who don't want to sign, even in these gerrymandered districts, we have Sun City, I want the elderly people to know that the Republicans who are representing them, or even Democrats, which I highly doubt, are for not signing this pledge. And it's a serious effort. So I just wanted to see, and I'm very thankful that you let me on your show. I'm standing here in between the Senate and the House, and unfortunately they're using slave labor from the prisons, making a lot of noise. But the politicians are walking by me. I'm inside of the governor's tower of Arizona, and they need to say on a pledge, hey, you know, we will not ever vote to cut one red penny from Meals on Wheels, and hunger is not ever irrelevant. So,
hey, Lenny, why not take it to the next step and say, you know, I mean, this is the thing. I mean, Democrats are always fighting rear guards. You know, they're always saying, please don't cut that. Please don't cut that. Instead of saying, let's expand it. Meals on Wheels right now, according to the executive director of Meals on Wheels, they have like a multi-month backlog of people who are begging for their services that they cannot provide. You've got hungry people in the United States, and the Republicans' solution to that is let them die. And we need to expand Meals on Wheels, just like we need to expand Social Security and Medicare.
Yes, and then I'm sorry, but one last thing. Ironically, where I'm standing, they're feeding the legislators for free. They do it every day. All these corporations come out here, and they get free meals. And, of course, the homeless people, the shelter's not far away, they are turned away. But these politicians get free meals here every day. I'm watching them right now sitting at a free meal. I don't know if it's the governor. I highly doubt it. But some person in a three-piece suit, and they're getting free food. Yet they are, if they're not willing to sign this pledge not to cut Meals on Wheels, one red penny, and I'm asking the Republicans to do the same, then shame on them. And this is what their constituents need to know in Sun City. Your Republican legislators are for cutting Meals on Wheels. And if you know, I will try to let people know. I'll let you know somehow, Tom, how this goes. I'm going to get a pledge from all 90 legislators. I'm going to ask every one of them.
Great. Well, Lenny, we're running out of time here, but you know, please let us know. Call back in a week or so and let us know what happened. I wish you the very best, my friend. Good luck. Jared in Downingtown, Pennsylvania. Hey, Jared, what's up?
I don't know how much more of this crap I can take, Tom.
Which particular crap are you talking about?
Where do I start? 2,000 U.S. troops are being sent to Syria.
Yeah, shades of 1959 in Vietnam.
Exactly. This is Vietnam all over again. And where are all these Trump voters who were complaining about Hillary and her war hawkishness? Where are they now? They're all a bunch of hypocrite, lying scum. If my brother is sent over there to Syria or Iran or North Korea, because you heard what Rex Tillerson said, that he's going to do a preeminent strike on North Korea, that's it. It's go time. I'm buying a gun, and I'm sick of this crap because I don't know how much more of this I can take anymore. He's a lying, hypocrite, warmongering mass murderer. It's time to resist this tyranny. And I'm losing my mind.
You know, Jared, the most effective resistance is not to buy a gun. The most effective resistance is to get 10 people to make a commitment to yourself every month. You're going to make sure that 10 people that you know who are going to vote Democratic are actually registered to vote and know where their polling places are. Get ready for 2018. 2018 is going to be a big deal, especially in Pennsylvania. You live in a swing state, Jared. You have an opportunity to really change things in that state. And that'll be a whole lot more effective than you're running after, you know, some crazed right-winger with a gun and getting yourself killed.
I know that, but I just feel like the Democratic Party is so worthless now. It's just...
Then get inside it and change it. You know, I completely understand what you're saying, and I am continually frustrated by a Democratic Party that is being torn in part, basically, but, you know, by the influence of corporate money. I get that, and it troubles me too. But that said, this is the vehicle that we can use to change things, and we need to be doing it. Jared, thank you very much for the call. And good luck. And don't buy the gun. We'll be back.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann.
The Thom Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by the Aiden Forecast, an investment newsletter with weekly updates of leading market indicators and a monthly deep dive into what the details of the economy and the markets mean for investors and retirees. On the web at aidenmarkets.com.
Wines have some of the highest pesticide levels in our food chain. This hour brought to you by ecowine.com. Pesticide-free wines, organic wines, imported from France by the Organic Wine Company, ecowine.com.
The Thom Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by Super Beets. Super Beets are sourced from non-GMO beets, and they're packed with dietary nitrates, helping to produce nitric oxide for more energy, stamina, and support for healthy blood pressure levels naturally. For more information, call 800-223-8242 or visit freespeechbeets.com. And welcome back. Week 2 of our Free Speech TV fundraising drive. And, I've been trying to set our goals for $10,000 a day, and we made it one day last week. I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday. And the rest of the week was, it started at 4,000. We got as high as 6,000 or 7,000. But we're halfway there today. If you call today with a $10 gift, a $100 gift, a $1,000 gift, or whatever it may be, anything short of $7,000, it will be matched by a donor who has put up a $7,000 challenge grant for today only. So your $100 becomes $200. Your $360 becomes $720. It's your gift is magically doubled today. So please call now, 877-378-8669. Help us hit our goals so that we can keep this show on the air. We can keep this network on the air. We can keep the electrons flowing and the lights working and the information going. The number 877-378-8669, and if you can't donate anything, you can call and ask just to put your name on the mailing list. About every month or so, Free Speech TV sends out a little newsletter that kind of summarizes what's going on, and it's really useful. It's kind of a TV guide thing. So please check out check that out, 877-378-8669. You can also do it over at the website at freespeech.org. You can donate, or you can sign up for the newsletter and become a member of Free Speech TV, essentially. But the important thing right now, in addition to telling your friends about free speech and spreading the good word, the really important thing right now is to call now and make a contribution today. Today we're trying to really break our record and go for, if we can have a $15,000 day, it cleans up all of last week, and then going forward we can do really well too, hopefully. So please call now, 877-378-8669, with a $60 gift. If you name this program, you get a Free Speech TV water bottle. With a $120 gift, you get a copy of Sarah Van Gelder's new book, The Revolution Where You Live, Stories from a 12,000-Mile Journey Through a New America. Sarah Van Gelder, the former, I think she still is, the editor of Yes Magazine. And she was on this program a few weeks ago talking about this book. It's a remarkable book. With a $150 contribution, which again gets doubled to $300. Not you don't have to put up the $300, but this donor who has made up to a $7,000 match will put in $150 to match your $150, so it becomes $300. With a $150 gift, and that's true of any giving level. With a $150 gift, you get the book by Sarah Van Gelder, The Revolution Where You Live. Where is it? There it is. And the Spirit of Standing Rock DVD, which is really great. With a $240 gift, you get this Spirit of Standing Rock DVD. You get the Free Speech TV water bottle. You get a Free Speech TV grocery bag. You get the Free Speech TV bumper sticker. So all kinds of goodies with a $240 gift. With a $360 gift, you get the Revolution Where You Live book, the Free Speech TV grocery bag, the Free Speech TV hat, the Free Speech TV hand fan, the Free Speech TV bumper sticker, and with a $1,000 gift, come to Washington, D.C., and I'll take you out we'll have pizza. They got good gluten-free pizza, actually, right down the street here. Or, whatever we all decide to do. So we'll have, just come to D.C. and we're trying to get a couple donors together at a time, not a big group, just a small, 2, 3, 4 people, something like that, and have a nice, pleasant afternoon together or lunch together. And that's with a $1,000 gift. And coming to D.C., I had never lived in D.C. before. I've commuted through D.C. I've done business in D.C., but I'd never played tourist in this town in all my years. And in fact, it was really probably 2 years after we moved here that the family came to visit, and we said, oh, well, let's go play tourist, and discovered this incredible city. 34 Smithsonian museums, all of them totally free. It's really amazing, and very rarely are there even any lines. I mean, it's just because everything is just designed to move people through, and the Air and Space Museum and the Natural History Museum, the African American Museum, the Native American Museum, the Portrait Gallery. It's amazing, The Hirshhorn. I mean, it's just an extraordinary city. So come to D.C. and we'll have lunch with a $1,000 gift. So those are the levels at which you will, receive some kind of goodies in exchange for donating. But the important goodie is Free Speech TV continues. We want this network to continue and to strengthen. And so, whatever you were thinking about giving, say you're thinking about, making a $120 contribution, well, maybe you can make that $150. It's up to you. Obviously, I don't want to put anybody in economic distress here, but a little bit of help, just a few extra dollars here and there on every gift. And pretty soon, we're not just keeping the lights on, we're adding another show. We're building a network. I would love to see Free Speech TV get to the point where, like Fox News, they're just running 24/7 continuous and real programming. Let's make that happen. 877-378-8669. Thanks so much for your support of Free Speech TV, and thanks especially today.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. And on the line with us is Ryan Girdusky. Ryan is a senior writer with Red Alert Politics. RedAlertPolitics.com is the website. You can tweet him at Ryan, R-Y-A-N, Girdusky, G-I-R-D-U-S-K-Y, or at Red Alert. Ryan, welcome back.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Good to have you with us. So you are... You're apparently in support of the Trump administration's desire to cut funding for the arts. Do I have that right?
Yeah, I think that would be a smarter idea. I think it would actually benefit the arts if we started defunding and getting the federal government out of the arts program, especially the NEA.
If you look through the history of the arts, though, I mean, Beethoven was funded by wealthy patrons. Bach was funded by government. In fact, actually, Beethoven was funded by government. It was Prince Ludwig, Crazy Prince Ludwig. And I mean, the arts have often throughout history. For every dollar we invest in the arts, we get $10 back in increased economic activity. We know that. We know that the arts cultivate young imaginations, facilitate success in school, particularly arts programs in schools. The arts, I mean, isn't part of being a member of society, wanting society to be a better place? I mean, the arts provide that. What is wrong in a day and age when I am donating $536 out of my annual paycheck to support the Pentagon? What is wrong with donating 46 cents to support the arts nationwide?
Well, the thing is that I do want the arts to be, I mean, I love the arts. I went to college to be an artist. I go to the museums constantly. That being said, the fact is that the NEA actually, throughout time, the more money it's had, the less people seem to be interested in the arts and art activities. In 1992, 41% of American adults attended a quote-unquote art activity, according to the NEA. And in 2012, that was just 33%.
Oh, yeah. In large part, that's because of the Reagan cuts to the arts. You know, art programs aren't being taught in schools anymore.
No, you're wrong. 1992 to 2012, long after Reagan.
Okay.
In 1992, 2012, all those 20-year period, arts dropped by almost double digits.
Right. And funding at the federal level went up or down?
It had to have gone up. I mean, it's through the Clinton and Obama administration.
Are you sure it's gone up in inflation-adjusted dollars? I would be very surprised, frankly. You've had Republicans, outside of about 4 years out of the last 20, you've had Republicans in charge of one branch of Congress or the other. I can't see them raising these. But to the larger issue here, that doesn't, that may be the success of the program. But again, I don't want to operate inside that frame because I don't know if your statistics are right. What I do know is that it's 46 cents.
That's the NEA. I'm giving the NEA statistics, what the NEA is reporting in itself. And through their own reporting, it's showing the fact that arts attendance is going down, despite them spending billions of dollars to provide and promote the arts. And I mean, the arts funding at this point has become welfare for, rich white people. Most theater companies, most projects that are having as far as art exhibits, most of them go into wealthier areas.
But those are not typically the things that are supported. Those are not typically the things that are supported by the NEA. But let's assume for a moment that they are. If we're providing welfare to rich people, and you're a Republican, Ryan Girdusky, why are you not taking the position that if we make it easier, if we make life easier on rich people so they don't have to pay to go to the opera or to the theater, that they're going to use that money to create jobs? After all, they're the job creators, aren't they?
But they're not. I mean,
shouldn't we be supporting these rich people?
I mean, they write.
Isn't that the core belief of your party?
That's not. No, because their argument doesn't make any sense.
I know it doesn't. Your position doesn't make any sense.
People overwhelmingly contribute to art. I mean, the Koch brothers, they wouldn't be a New York Symphony without the Koch brothers. There wouldn't be half of the arts programs in Manhattan without billionaires like the Koch brothers.
Well, maybe or maybe not, Ryan. I mean, you're saying if you take away government funding, something's going to fill it in. I would say if you take away Koch funding, something's going to fill it in.
If you go to New York on almost any art exhibit and in most major art areas, the word Koch Koch brothers is around somewhere along the lines as major patrons of the arts.
Sure.
I mean, it was.
Yeah, David Koch is very concerned about his reputation and about the future of the arts.
I'm just saying the Koch brothers give millions to the arts every single year.
So the position you're taking, Ryan, let me get this straight. The position you're taking is that if we're going to have nice stuff in our world, that stuff should either be behind a paywall because we don't want to subsidize rich white people. So it should be, so those rich white people should have to pay for it, which means that we're going to block out all the poor people. So poor people shouldn't have access to the arts. To hell with them. Or actually, I don't see a B. I don't see a binary choice here.
No, you're not, because you're not listening whatsoever. In fact, there was John Waters, the famous film director who made underground art films. In his 2016 RISD college speech, he sat there over and over again. It is the rich people who fund art. Don't attack wealthy people. They're the one making my projects happen. I think that, and oftentimes many rich people make those art projects happen, one, with the expectation that there will be a loss and that they're doing it for the sake of
No, they're doing it as investments. People buy Andy Warhol's art as an investment. Come on.
Most art projects are literally tax write-offs. They're not successful. Most of them are not financially successful.
It's a gamble. It's a gamble. It's an investment gamble. If you've got a couple $100 million that you can afford to lose, instead of putting it in the stock market, you buy a bunch of different artists, and you find 1 out of 10 becomes the next Van Gogh, and the other 9 are useless 10 years down the road. But hey, you found the one Van Gogh. This is the same game that venture capitalists play. It's like, okay, we'll make 10 investments on the expectation that 1 is going to pay out. But what does that have to do with funding arts programs in our elementary schools, in our high schools, in our colleges, in our public areas?
Well, the NEA doesn't fund our programs in our high schools and our elementary schools. Most of that comes through the education program and the Department of Education, not through the NEA. And if your goal through the NEA is to see have more people exposed to the art, then you should be against the NEA because regardless of in the last 20 years, there have been less people going to art after the NEA has spent billions of dollars trying to promote.
This has nothing to do with the NEA, Brian. You're trying to create a causality when all you have is a correlation. You have no evidence whatsoever that the existence of the NEA is causing fewer people to attend art events.
Well, obviously, it's not helping it. If it was,
I would say what's probably not helping it is the fact that we're suffering after 35 years of Reaganomics. We've gone from the average family being able to be supported by one person working 40 hours a week to now where the average person requires two people in the family working an average of 70 hours a week. They don't have time to go to the arts. If you want to deal with the problem of people not using the things that are available, start looking at Reaganomics. Start looking at Reagan's giant tax cuts, 74% down to 25% for the top tax rate for billionaires. It gave them a lot more money that they could use to fund hospitals or fund, art events, as it were. But it also basically, screwed the middle class. And so now the middle class is working harder, working longer, and doesn't have time to participate in the arts. It's all Reagan's fault, Ryan.
If you ask any artist who makes the art happen, a rich person with a big paycheck or the government, it's almost always a rich person.
No, it depends on the artist you're talking to. There's very few artists who can actually find wealthy patrons.
That is not the majority of people who sit there and who make their life as an artist make their life on the backbone of a rich person who really does enjoy art.
You're talking about maybe 400 people in the United States. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about the occasional Beethoven who finds his Ludwig.
You're number 400 out of nowhere. That is completely and utterly not true.
Okay, 4,000. I'm talking about programs all over the United States that are designed for average working people that are supported by the NEA. And, when we know that arts improves physical, mental, and emotional well-being, it makes communities more stronger, more a welcoming place, desirable quality of life. The arts support strong democracy. They energize citizens in public discourse. The arts preserve culture and heritage. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that has to do with the arts.
Listen, you don't have to sell the arts. I mean, I went to college to be an artist. I love art. I think art is fantastic. The NEA, that program, is not providing people with anything that they could not be getting from the private sector. And the private sector could probably weed out what people actually want to see from what people don't want to see.
I get this is the libertarian response to absolutely everything. You need to go beg a billionaire. And if you're really nice and you kiss their butts a lot or some other anatomical part, if that billionaire is, making demands, then you might get your funding. But I disagree respectfully. Ryan Girdusky, senior writer with Red Alert Politics, redalertpolitics.com. You can tweet him at RyanGirdusky. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
We'll be back with your calls in just a moment. And welcome back. Norma in Montgomery, Alabama, watching Free Speech TV on DirecTV. Hey, Norma, what's up?
Hi, Dr. Tom. I apologize for Friday. I thought I had hung up, and when I had a call come in from the health department, it was important. But anyway, there is an article today in al.com about our governor who has been under impeachment hearings that he may go ahead and resign next month.
Who is your governor?
Bentley.
Okay, Robert Bentley, he's a Republican, as I recall?
Yes, he is. And as you know, Sessions was our senator and became the U.S. Attorney General. Bentley turned around and nominated and appointed our Attorney General Luther Strange. This put this impeachment hearings on kind of hold for a while. Then he nominated a guy named Marshall who has recused himself. But our main question is, since our Alabama state constitution requires an election within 4 months of having to appoint a senator, and Bentley has refused to call for an election, once the 120 days are up, will Luther Strange be a legitimate legal senator from the state of Alabama, and will his votes count?
I don't know the answer to the question, Norma. What do you think?
I don't know. But, if Bentley does resign next month, this will give us a white female governor. Her name is Lieutenant Governor Kay Ivey. And I think that's important. If they do go ahead with their constitutional convention, we would now have a woman who would help fight for rights.
Right.
And but no, the reason I didn't pick up was, like I said, I was talking to the health department because there's an outbreak of active TB in Birmingham, and people had been going to this Birmingham Water Board because their pensions were stolen by a hedge fund in New York, which is now defunct. And there were a lot of people up there, and we were all in the same room on February the 4th. I didn't call for testing until March the 8th.
Oh.
Yes.
Well, it takes a while for TB to settle into the point where it shows up on a test, but...
yeah. But all of these groups in Birmingham are a power base that do everything. You know, like they were protesting the fact that the water board has jacked their rates. They're almost tripled the water rates. And so we had a group of protesters, and we had the protesters for trying to get the pensions back. And, of course, this group moves around, and they belong to other groups. And we were trying to find out how big the tier is. And none of those questions were answered on Friday. But, no, I thought you might find it interesting to know that our governor probably will be gone in 2 weeks.
What is the basis of the charge against him?
Well, the most hilarious one is the illegal, immoral activities of our family value governor on the office rug in the governor's office.
Oh, really?
Yeah, with his chief executive assistant, whose pay was never out of state funds. It was her salary came from a private source, which no one seems to be able to track.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes. But,
well, at least he can't be charged with, misappropriating state funds, I guess.
Well, that is the big charge.
Oh, really?
Because he took lots of trips with her.
Oh.
He even sent the state plane back to his house to pick up something he forgot one day, and a lot of funds have been diverted from the BP settlement to build a new governor's mansion in Gulf Shores.
Oh, my.
Yes.
Norma, thanks for the information. I'm going to have to do some reading and follow up on it. But thanks for waking me up on this issue. I appreciate it. Great to hear from you. Hey, Thom Hartmann here.
Election results have generated fear, sadness, and despair.
In the days and months ahead,
our democracy may face a crisis of historic proportions.
But there is good news.
There is good news.
There is good news. Thousands of people are stepping forward in solidarity,
resistance,
and resolve.
We join them.
We join them.
We join them
in standing with the most vulnerable communities among us.
Those most likely to be targeted by new restrictions and policies.
We will tell their stories here.
Here
on Free Speech TV.
We will lift their voices here
on Free Speech TV.
In the difficult times ahead, know that we will be with you 24 hours a day,
every day.
You are not alone.
You are not alone.
You are not alone.
There are millions of us,
raising our voices and hearts together as one.
We've got your back.
We got your back.
Free Speech TV's got your back.
The revolution is in progress.
Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you and Jonathan in Portland, Oregon. Hey, Jonathan, what's on your mind today?
Hey, how you doing, Tom?
Good. What's up?
Okay, the arts. Let's just start real quick. National endowment funding's been up consistently.
Okay.
They give half their money to the poor, and much of it's given to K through 12. So let's just start there.
I thought so. How
unequivocally, I have no idea who this guy is. He's absolutely off the wall. And a couple other things. Our NEA is a fraction of what Europe pays for their arts funding.
Right.
Let's start there. And But there's a few other things. I mean, I just don't know where to begin. I mean, we're fund. The whole point of art is that it transcends politics. I mean, when we fund Beethoven and Mozart and Gershwin, I mean, are we talking about funding rich white people? I mean, that's ludicrous. We're talking about sharing the ideas that have been created by great minds and great artists. Mm-hmm. But finally, you have to remember that the first thing a tyrant does, the first thing they do to the artists is they co-opt them or they kill them.
Yep.
And they do that for a very simple reason. They do it because tyrants think in very one-dimensional, black and white ways of thinking. And the whole point of the arts is to teach flexibility, some mental plasticity, tolerance, civility.
that's not a great idea
Diversity.
in a dictatorship.
Yeah. Here's the one thing that I think maybe you're missing, Jonathan, and or maybe I'm just adding to your argument, and that is, you mentioned, Beethoven and Bach. Gershwin, I think, was, publicly, I don't know if he ever got an NEA grant, but he made money. But if you go back in time and you look at Bach and Beethoven and Mozart, they all had wealthy patrons who were either kings or queens or lords or ladies, right? Who were basically the super rich of their day. And those super rich of their day had mind-boggling power. And so when people argue that we need to stop public funding of the arts, what they are really arguing is that we need to have oligarchs funding the arts instead. In fact, the guy that I was just debating essentially said that on multiple occasions. Well, the corollary assumption to that is that, therefore, we must have oligarchs. And I reject that. I think that we should have an absolute wealth tax at $1 billion. Anybody who has more than $1 billion, it's taxed at 100%. If you can't live on $1 billion, you've got a serious problem. We need to roll back the Reagan tax cut and go back to a 74% tax rate on all money earned in today's dollars over $3 million a year. And that will stop.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I think the comparison is ludicrous. It's an apples and oranges. Who wants to go back to oligarchs? And if you look past that, if you read the writings of Beethoven and Mozart and Bach, they were not that fond of their patrons. It was a horrible relationship. But Bach's music, when he died, no one played it for 200 years. People don't realize that. People just started listening to Bach again when Glenn Gould started playing it in Russia in the 50s. It's not as simple as that.
Right.
So I totally agree with your argument, and I love your show, and keep up the good work. And I think that the main problem, as you've said in the past, is the voter suppression and the disenfranchisement of blacks at the polls. All of the voters that have been thrown off the voter rolls as a result of the evisceration of the 1965 Voting Rights Act and the corporate money that's poured into the coffers of these politicians.
Yeah, well said. Jonathan, thanks for the call.
Bye.
Great to hear from you. Billy in Wimberley, Texas. Hey, Billy, what's up?
Howdy, Tom. Listen, I'm an artist, and there's been times where my art is sold and sometimes when I'd had to really work hard to peddle it, all right? Mm-hmm. I reject the notion. You mentioned a minute ago that, you don't like the idea of artists having to go out and kiss the body parts of wealthy people. I've been in that boat, okay? But I reject even harder the notion of having to kiss the government's rear end to beg for money for the government to support my art. And there is some of the endowment of the arts projects that I work on are just, to me, simply more redistribution of wealth.
What's wrong with that?
You just went off on a rant on income taxes. And it seems like you liberals always do that. It always gets people are making too much money. Well, who are you? Who is the government? Who is anybody to tell me how much money I can make and how much money the government gets to take from me?
I'm a U.S. citizen, Billy. I get to have an opinion, and we have this thing called the First Amendment. And I'm telling you, my opinion is that redistribution of wealth, when wealth has grown to the point where it is toxic, redistribution of wealth is not only a good thing, it's an essential thing if you want to keep your democracy. If you do not redistribute wealth, you end up in an oligarchy. And an oligarchy is hostile, frankly, to the arts. And I would say that we have hit, right now, I agree with Jimmy Carter, we are now in an oligarchic form of government. And, of course, the oligarchs want to say, we're the only ones who should fund the arts.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
Back with your calls after this. And welcome back. Week 2 of our Free Speech TV fundraising drive. And, I've been trying to set our goals for $10,000 a day, and we made it one day last week. I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday. And the rest of the week was, it started at 4,000. We got as high as 6,000 or 7,000. But we're halfway there today. If you call today with a $10 gift, a $100 gift, a $1,000 gift, or whatever it may be, anything short of $7,000, it will be matched by a donor who has put up a $7,000 challenge grant for today only. So your $100 becomes $200. Your $360 becomes $720. It's your gift is magically doubled today. So please call now, 877-378-8669. Help us hit our goals so that we can keep this show on the air. We can keep this network on the air. We can keep the electrons flowing and the lights working and you know, the information going. The number 877-378-8669. And you know, if even if you can't donate anything, you can call and ask just to put your name on the mailing list. About every month or so, Free Speech TV sends out a little newsletter that kind of summarizes what's going on, and it's really useful. It's kind of a TV guide thing. So please check out check that out, 877-378-8669. You can also do it over at the website at freespeech.org. You can donate, or you can sign up for the newsletter and become a member of Free Speech TV, essentially. But the important thing right now, in addition to telling your friends about free speech and spreading the good word, the really important thing right now is to call now and make a contribution today. Today we're trying to really break our record and go for, if we can have a $15,000 day, it cleans up all of last week, and then going forward we can do really well too, hopefully. So please call now, 877-378-8669. With a $60 gift, if you name this program, you get a Free Speech TV water bottle. With a $120 gift, you get a copy of Sarah Van Gelder's new book, The Revolution Where You Live, Stories from a 12,000-Mile Journey Through a New America. Sarah Van Gelder, the former, I think she still is, the editor of Yes Magazine. And she was on this program a few weeks ago talking about this book. It's a remarkable book. With a $150 contribution, which again gets doubled to $300. Not you don't have to put up the $300, but this donor who has made up to a $7,000 match will put in $150 to match your $150, so it becomes $300. With a $150 gift, and that's true of any giving level. With a $150 gift, you get the book by Sarah Van Gelder, The Revolution Where You Live. Where is it? There it is. And the Spirit of Standing Rock DVD, which is really great. With a $240 gift, you get this Spirit of Standing Rock DVD. You get the Free Speech TV water bottle. You get a Free Speech TV grocery bag. You get the Free Speech TV bumper sticker. So all kinds of goodies with a $240 gift. With a $360 gift, you get the Revolution Where You Live book, the Free Speech TV grocery bag, the Free Speech TV hat, the Free Speech TV hand fan, the Free Speech TV bumper sticker, and with a $1,000 gift, come to Washington, D.C., and I'll take you out for, we'll have pizza. They got good gluten-free pizza, actually, right down the street here. Or, whatever we all decide to do. So we'll have, just come to D.C., and we're trying to get a couple donors together at a time, not a big group, just a small, 2, 3, 4 people, something like that, and have a nice, pleasant afternoon together, or lunch together. And that's with a $1,000 gift. And coming to D.C., I had never lived in D.C. before. I've commuted through D.C. I've done business in D.C., but I'd never played tourist in this town in all my years. And in fact, it was really probably 2 years after we moved here that the family came to visit, and we said, oh, well, let's go play tourist, and discovered this incredible city. 34 Smithsonian museums, all of them totally free. It's really amazing, and very rarely are there even any lines. I mean, it's just because everything is just designed to move people through, and the Air and Space Museum and the Natural History Museum, the African American Museum, the Native American Museum, the Portrait Gallery. It's amazing. The Hirshhorn. I mean, it's just an extraordinary city. So come to D.C. and we'll have lunch with a $1,000 gift. So those are the levels at which you will receive some kind of goodies in exchange for donating. But the important goodie is Free Speech TV continues. We want this network to continue and to strengthen. And so, whatever you were thinking about giving, say you're thinking about, making a $120 contribution, well, maybe you can make that 150. It's up to you. Obviously, I don't want to put anybody in economic distress here, but a little bit of help, just a few extra dollars here and there on every gift. And pretty soon, we're not just keeping the lights on, we're adding another show. We're building a network. I would love to see Free Speech TV get to the point where, like Fox News, they're just running 24/7 continuous and real programming. Let's make that happen. 877-378-8669. Thanks so much for your support of Free Speech TV, and thanks especially today.
Hey, want to hear that clip again? Subscribe to the Thom Hartmann Program on YouTube to see all your favorite show highlights. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. And Jen in New York City. Hey, Jen, what's on your mind today?
Yes, hi, Tom. It's a great pleasure to speak with you.
Thank you.
I admire you so much. And I wanted to call because I was just so outraged by the caller that you had on earlier, Ryan. I forgot his last name, but speaking as someone who is boots on the ground, performing artist, also teacher, I really couldn't believe so many of the false things that were coming out of his mouth, including linking the NEA funding to a decrease in people coming to see artistic events. I'm glad that you finally got him on the point that these things are not related. And what's more to blame is Reaganomics and the last, 20, 30 years of economic situation in which people simply don't have the means to attend the theater and to attend concerts. They don't have the means to pay the babysitter and then get the tickets, and it's all part of a bigger problem.
And very often they don't have the time because they're working 2 and 3 jobs.
Exactly, and that was my other point too. I mean, I entered the workforce the year before the recession started, and I would talk to people at auditions and at things like that, and they'd say, this seems like has it always been this hard? Because I know that it's a tough business. Everybody's really trying to get work all the time, and it's really tough. And then they would say, yeah, it's always been hard, but this is a whole other story. Once that recession hit, I mean, theaters were closing left and right. People were taking jobs, sometimes big name people, for $500 a week, $400 a week, $200 a week. I mean, theaters were really suffering. People were going after jobs that weren't going to provide them, benefits that were very low salaries, and it really makes an impact. And your caller earlier, the libertarian who, is, I guess, a visual artist. I'm sure there are some visual artists who are able to maybe sustain some kind of a hand-to-mouth lifestyle with, some wealthy patrons supporting their work. But when you talk about especially bigger things, bigger productions, Broadway musicals, theater, concerts, concert series, I mean, that's a whole different ballgame of money. Operas, ballet companies, I mean, just to license musical, an out-of-town theater company, just to license a musical is thousands of dollars, much less all the performers you need for a show, many of whom are union. Thankfully, I'm a union performer, but a lot of people I know weren't, and they were, really, really struggling. So this kind of stuff, the economy greatly, greatly affects the ability of artists and scenic designers and sound people and painters and dressers and costumers and ushers and ticket takers. I mean, there is a gigantic economy surrounding art. And my other point that I would just like to make is, excuse me, I'm a little under the weather. As someone who also works with children and trying to expose children to the power of art and music and theater, I cannot tell you, and it really has been a huge part of my life to see how much music and expression and theater and working together and working together as a team and cooperation, and even just the act of making music or playing a character in a show has, I have seen children who have some very strong difficulties. You wouldn't believe what sometimes music does for autistic children, for children with behavioral problems, or difficulties at home, children who don't feel valued, who somehow feel like they can connect to something, and maybe they'll never end up being a professional performer or an artist or musician, but the greater perspective and the compassion and the values of discipline and hard work and sticking to something and working together as a group and listening to each other and communicating and accepting criticism, being able to work with that and then carry on, the ability to make a mistake on stage and pick yourself up and keep going. All of these things are invaluable lessons for young people, no matter what they end up doing.
Yep. Jen, I've got to move along, but I completely agree with you. Very, very well said. And thank you for the call. Debbie in Lake Villa, Illinois. Hey, Debbie, what's on your mind today?
Hi. It's out of my comfort zone to call, but it just outraged me. I was listening to the radio, and you really can't quantify what art does for you. I'm a dog groomer, and I learned so much in my art classes at school to teach me how to look at something, and part of grooming is shapes and that kind of fine-tuning that you get in art class. Mm-hmm. And just because I'm not a performing artist doesn't mean that art hasn't impacted me greatly in my life.
Well, and arguably, there's a dimension of art to what all of us do all the time with our lives. Some people just overtly think of their lives as performance art, but they're just as you said, that understanding of the relationship of things to each other and aesthetics and things like that. I mean, this is part of our daily life. It's part of our daily work for most of us.
And I don't think I would get any funding from the Koch brothers for my art class so that I could be more successful in my job.
Well, you might if it was paintings of, if you were performing Atlas Shrugged. Sorry, bad joke.
That's true.
Yeah. Debbie, thank you for the call. Very, very well said, and thanks for listening to WCPT. Mark in Mason City, Iowa, listening on Sirius XM. Hey, Mark, what's up?
Hi, Tom. Thanks for taking my call. I just listened to the two right-wing people that you had on earlier. Iowa gives a lot of tax corporate giveaways away, and that's what makes the Koch brothers and these rich people look really, really well, because they're using your money and my money to do that. I'll give you an example. I'm looking here from Legislative Service Agency, Iowa Department of Revenue, and the Iowa Fiscal Partnership. In the last 7 years, Iowa has given away $96.2 million, a check back to John Deere, $90.2 million back to Rockwell Collins, and $50.4 back to DuPont. Those are some of the big recipients, and Monsanto is also in there. Then on top of that, the last 7 years, they've given $231 million for what they call research activity credits for companies who want to have special research programs to improve their products or whatever.
Right, and credits are not tax breaks. They're the government's writing you a check.
Right, exactly. They're called research activity credits. And this is, in some of the research I've done, this is what John Deere has done. And it's not only John Deere, but a lot of the other big implement companies are doing the same thing. They're screwing the farmers, and this is how they're doing it. They're putting special proprietary software in their tractors, so when they're out in the field and that tractor breaks down, they are at the mercy of the John Deere or the implement dealer, whoever it is, to come out and give them a readout code. They cannot fix their tractors anymore. And what that's really going to hurt people too, who, if you're a contractor and you're building a bridge over the Mississippi River or any other highway project in Iowa or any other state, and your piece of equipment breaks down and it costs you time, usually in those contracts, there's written a clause in there that said you have to have the project completed by a certain date, otherwise you're charged liquidated damages. So think about how that's going to damage the contractor and cause those projects to escalate even higher in cost.
But Mark, to what extent is that a consequence of, John Deere figuring out that they can make more money? And I realize, the analogy that I'm thinking of is automobiles. When we went to electronic ignition systems and fuel inject, electronic computer regulated fuel injector systems in cars,
and left behind carburetors and rotator cuffs or rotators on the what's the thing that delivers the spark from the coil to the spark plugs? It's the distributor. Thank you, Chris. It's been a long time since I've worked on a car. When we made that transition, it was very profitable for the auto dealers, for the car dealers, because they had the only proprietary machines that could plug into the computer on your car. But and I get it that it's useful for them, but you can't just say we're going to stop technology and we're just going to go back to carburetors and distributors.
No, but here's the key part to that. The farmer wants to buy that technology, and John Deere will not let it go. It's like when we lose an airplane in the Middle East, we blow it up because we don't want them to reverse technology on that.
Right, reverse engineer.
The key to this whole thing is farmers will not be able to fix their implements anymore.
Right. Well, it's just like we can't fix our cars, and that's right. This is the giant welfare program called the patent and copyright laws. They say, no, this is proprietary, this fix on this car, and so you can't fix your car without this particular piece of equipment. You want to buy the equipment, it's going to cost you $60,000 to buy the analyzer that is going to fix your $20,000 car. And of course, nobody's going to do that. So apparently the same thing is happening with tractors and with farm equipment and all this kind of stuff. That's fascinating. Mark, thanks for the call. And I learned so much from my own listeners. And thanks for listening to us there in Mason City, Iowa. I appreciate it. We'll be back. Talk Media News is going to drop by sometime in the next 5 minutes or so. And in the meantime, we'll be right back. Stick around.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
Back with your calls and Talk Media News right after this. And welcome back. Elizabeth in Albuquerque, New Mexico, watching us on Free Speech TV on Roku. That's great. That's how we get Free Speech TV at home. Elizabeth, welcome to the program. What's up?
Thank you. I'm an artist from a family of artists, and my husband went to film school. He was also a dancer. He was from India. And he used to say that the thing is that art is meant to show people what they need to see as opposed to what they want to see. And I think that's what's so frightening with these people about art and how they want to get rid of it. I remember when Robert Mapplethorpe had an exhibit of his artwork, and that was the last time there was a big dust-up about wanting to defund the NEA.
Yeah, wasn't that around the crucifix in a bottle of urine?
That's right. It was, I won't say what the title was, but yes, that was the idea. And basically what he was trying to say is that as a gay man, that he was being assaulted by conservative Christians who were, telling him he was evil.
Yeah, and this was the tail end of, as I recall, this was the tail end of the AIDS epidemic before they had developed the modern drugs that can hold it at bay.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yes. So I think that's what's so frightening for these people who want to control the message. And the way they do control the message right now, especially, is to give people what they want to see.
Right.
Not what they need to see.
Yeah, and it's like saying, "Hey, we've got hungry people here. Let's feed them ding-dongs."
Right, right. Exactly. Well, bread and circuses.
Yeah. Maybe we should rewrite that to white bread and circus. Got it. Elizabeth, well said. Thank you very much for the call. And thanks for watching Free Speech TV. Jennifer, thanks for watching Free Speech in Madison, Wisconsin. What's on your mind?
Hi. Well, I wanted to speak to the arts as well. I just feel like the people who want to destroy the NEA want to control the arts, much as the oligarchies do. They don't like what artists think often. Artists tend to be very independent thinking and forward thinking, and I think much as Shostakovich was controlled by by Stalin. I think it's the same way here with the people in power. They would not like to see artists succeed in making their statements.
Well, and art has historically been a vehicle for rebellion and resistance. I mean, right down to the old nursery tales. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall.
Yep.
That was a joke about a British king, as I recall.
Right.
And Mary so contrary. That was I think it was Mary Queen of Scots. But these were protest movements basically being done in the guise of art. And
exactly.
And you can see where autocrats, oligarchs, Republicans would not want that to happen. How dare these people talk about us? And then, you look even at the pop arts. I mean, what's happening right now is that the most popular of the pop arts, the comedy shows on TV and whatnot, the most popular ones are the ones that are taking on Trump. That's got to, cause them to grit their teeth even more. Oh, my God, those artists, we can't have those comedians. We can't have that. Jennifer, well said. Thank you very much. And thanks for the call. Thanks for watching Free Speech TV. We'll be right back with Victoria Jones with Talk Media News. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. Let's check in with Talk Media News and find out what's going on in the world today. This report brought to you by goatsfortheoldgoat.com. And actually, Don's been freed. So free-don.org. Still a great website. But Don Siegelman is out. On the line with us is Victoria Jones. Hey, Victoria.
Hey, Tom.
So what's going on in the world today? I've been sort of watching the chyrons on these hearings with Comey and et al. But I haven't been able to listen to them because I've been on the air. What's going on?
Yes, very interesting hearing in the House Intelligence Committee. That's the first hearing we'll talk about. You've got FBI Director James Comey testifying and also National Security Agency Director Admiral Mike Rogers both testifying in an open hearing. So what they can say is obviously limited. But with that, you had the first bombshell dropped when FBI Director James Comey opened by saying, well, I can't say, and we all thought, oh, here we go again. And then he said, but there are extraordinary circumstances, and I can confirm that the agency is conducting an ongoing investigation into potential coordination between the Russian government and the Trump campaign.
Whoa. If that's real, that's A, terrible, and B, big.
Yeah. And later in the hearing, he confirmed that the investigation went back to about June of last year. He also refused...
You mean June of 2016 or June of 2015?
2016.
Huh, interesting.
My understanding, it may be, I think it was 2016. I'm not sure, but yeah. He said June.
Okay, because I think it wasn't June of 2015 when Trump announced?
I don't think, 2015 was...
And he had Manafort with him at that point in time, so that seems like that would be a ripe... Well, whatever.
But I don't think there was any reason to investigate at that point.
I see.
Yeah. He also refused to back President Trump's, what he referred to as Trump's tweets, that President Obama wiretapped Trump Tower during the election. But, Admiral Mike Rogers was, actually, I would say he ground out his answer when he was asked about the possibility of whether the NSA had asked GCHQ, the British spy intelligence agency, to spy on Trump for Obama. When I say he ground out his answer, he responded like this. He was so angry, he could barely open his mouth. He seemed so angry about the possibility that they had done that, and said no, that had never happened. And he was asked, well, is the claim ridiculous? And he said yes.
Whoa. Now, wasn't Mike Rogers a Republican member of the House?
He was an admiral.
Oh, he was an admiral. Okay, I'm mixing him up with somebody else.
Now, for quite a long time during the hearing, Republicans were following a line of questioning along wiretapping. And that was the direction in which they were going. And there was a lot of tweeting about this, basically saying, okay, so you've got a question of whether you've got collusion about Russia or wiretapping, and you have a question of which is the more important line, and Republicans have chosen to go this direction on the one hearing they've got. And then at a certain point, the questioning seemed to change, and they seemed to start asking questions about Russia. Nevertheless, Representative Trey Gowdy, Republican of South Carolina, focused on leaks and whether someone in the government leaked to the press that former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn had undisclosed contact with the Russian ambassador to the U.S.
Yeah, now leaks are the Trump meme. He's all about the leaks.
Yeah, there was quite a bit about leaks, and he grilled Comey about this as to which former official in President Obama's administration could have potentially, quote, unmasked Flynn's name. And without going into details of this, there was a lot of back and forth, but he named about 6 senior officials, including Director Brennan of the CIA, Susan Rice, Ben Rhodes, Loretta Lynch, Acting Attorney General Sally Yates, and he even hinted that President Obama could have done it.
Whoa.
It was quite an extraordinary line of questioning.
Yeah. Trey Gowdy interrogating one of his own, I guess.
Interrogating FBI Director James Comey.
No, but who is a Republican?
Right, but Comey would not confirm.
Did anybody talk about, I mean, I saw this in Huffington Post last week, or maybe it was on Alternate, or maybe both, that now they've done the metrics, they've done the math, and the one thing that they can definitely point to and say, this is the point at which Hillary Clinton lost the election, was when James Comey went on national television and said, we found another 30,000 of Hillary's emails on Carlos Danger's computer, on Anthony Weiner's computer. That was the point at which, measurably, the polls showed that Hillary Clinton was going to lose. Has anybody discussed that?
I didn't see a particular question about that.
Comey's role in swinging the election.
No, there were questions about whether Russia had a role specifically in swinging the election. There were questions about whether Russia was for Trump and against Clinton. There were specific questions about that.
Yeah, I saw that.
Comey and Rogers both confirmed that they believed that Russia was, but not whether Comey had a role.
Yeah, I guess it would be impolite to ask Mr. Comey, were you trying to swing the election? But it's a question that I would sure like to ask him.
Yeah, that I did not see that. I didn't see every minute of the hearing because I was on the air, but that I didn't see that. The other hearing, of course, that's going on in the Senate Judiciary Committee is that for the Supreme Court nominee Neil Gorsuch, and we've got opening statements today. And then we'll have questions tomorrow and Wednesday, and then we'll have outside witnesses probably on Thursday. And so it's the committee members right now, and then it'll be the nominee later in the day. And some kind of interesting ones. Dianne Feinstein, the top Democrat, is saying she's deeply disappointed that the hearing is beginning in the shadow of Republicans' decision to block the previous nominee for the seat, of course, Merrick Garland. She said Garland is a mainstream moderate nominee, and Democrats' job now is to decide whether Judge Gorsuch is a reasonable mainstream conservative or is he not.
Any discussion of Philip, is it pronounced Anschutz, the billionaire who basically is responsible for Gorsuch's career?
Have not seen that, but frankly, it's quite difficult to find that hearing because the Intelligence Committee hearing is being covered, and I've been following that more closely.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think once the Intelligence Committee hearing has ended...
Well, today it's all just posturing statements by senators, right? Tomorrow he actually starts testimony?
Yeah. Now, Gorsuch's opening statement will be interesting.
Yeah, but is that today?
That should be at the end of the senator's statement.
I see. Okay.
Yes. Also today, House Oversight Chairman Jason Chaffetz, Republican of Utah, said that lawmakers are considering major structural changes to the Secret Service after a string of intrusion attempts at the White House.
Oh, very interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay, Victoria Jones with Talk Media News. Thank you, Victoria.
Thank you.
It is always great having you on. Thank you so much. We'll be back.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann.
The Thom Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by the Aiden Forecast, an investment newsletter with weekly updates of leading market indicators and a monthly deep dive into what the details of the economy and the markets mean for investors and retirees. On the web at aidenmarkets.com. Wines have some of the highest pesticide levels in our food chain. This hour brought to you by ecowine.com. Pesticide-free wines, organic wines, imported from France by the organic wine company, ecowine.com. The Thom Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by Super Beets. Super Beets are sourced from non-GMO beets, and they're packed with dietary nitrates, helping to produce nitric oxide for more energy, stamina, and support for healthy blood pressure levels naturally. For more information, call 800-223-8242 or visit freespeechbeets.com. And welcome back. Week 2 of our Free Speech TV fundraising drive. And, I've been trying to set our goals for $10,000 a day, and we made it one day last week. I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday. And the rest of the week was, it started at 4,000. We got as high as 6,000 or 7,000. But we're halfway there today. If you call today with a $10 gift, a $100 gift, a $1,000 gift, or whatever it may be, anything short of $7,000, it will be matched by a donor who has put up a $7,000 challenge grant for today only. So your $100 becomes $200. Your $360 becomes $720. It's your gift is magically doubled today. So please call now, 877-378-8669. Help us hit our goals so that we can keep this show on the air. We can keep this network on the air. We can keep the electrons flowing and the lights working and the information going. The number 877-378-8669. And if you can't donate anything, you can call and ask just to put your name on the mailing list. About every month or so, Free Speech TV sends out a little newsletter that kind of summarizes what's going on, and it's really useful. It's kind of a TV guide thing. So please check out check that out, 877-378-8669. You can also do it over at the website at freespeech.org. You can donate, or you can sign up for the newsletter and become a member of Free Speech TV, essentially. But the important thing right now, in addition to telling your friends about free speech and spreading the good word, the really important thing right now is to call now and make a contribution today. Today we're trying to really, really break our record and go for, if we can have a $15,000 day, it cleans up all of last week. And, then going forward, we can do really well too, hopefully. So please call now, 877-378-8669. With a $60 gift, if you name this program, you get a Free Speech TV water bottle. With a $120 gift, you get a copy of Sarah Van Gelder's new book, The Revolution Where You Live, Stories from a 12,000-Mile Journey Through a New America. Sarah Van Gelder, the former, I think she still is, the editor of Yes Magazine. And she was on this program a few weeks ago talking about this book. It's a remarkable book. With a $150 contribution, which again gets doubled to $300. Not you don't have to put up the $300, but this donor who has made up to a $7,000 match will put in $150 to match your $150, so it becomes $300. With a $150 gift, and that's true of any giving level. With a $150 gift, you get the book by Sarah Van Gelder, The Revolution Where You Live. Where is it? There it is. And the Spirit of Standing Rock DVD, which is really great. With a $240 gift, you get this Spirit of Standing Rock DVD. You get the Free Speech TV water bottle. You get a Free Speech TV grocery bag. You get the Free Speech TV bumper sticker. So all kinds of goodies with a $240 gift. With a $360 gift, you get the Revolution Where You Live book, the Free Speech TV grocery bag, the Free Speech TV hat, the Free Speech TV hand fan, the Free Speech TV bumper sticker, and with a $1,000 gift, come to Washington, D.C., and I'll take you out we'll have pizza. They got good gluten-free pizza, actually, right down the street here. Or, whatever we all decide to do. So we'll have, just come to D.C. and we're trying to get a couple donors together at a time, not a big group, just a small
2, 3, 4 people, something like that, and have a nice, pleasant afternoon together or lunch together. And that's with a $1,000 gift. And coming to D.C., I had never lived in D.C. before. I've commuted through D.C. I've done business in D.C., but I'd never played tourist in this town in all my years. And in fact, it was really probably 2 years after we moved here that the family came to visit, and we said, oh, well, let's go play tourist, and discovered this incredible city. 34 Smithsonian museums, all of them totally free. It's really amazing, and very rarely are there even any lines. I mean, it's just because everything is just designed to move people through, and the Air and Space Museum and the Natural History Museum, the African American Museum, the Native American Museum, the Portrait Gallery. It's amazing. The Hirshhorn. I mean, it's just an extraordinary city. So come to D.C. and we'll have lunch with a $1,000 gift. So those are the levels at which you will receive some kind of goodies in exchange for donating. But the important goodie is Free Speech TV continues. We want this network to continue and to strengthen. And so, whatever you were thinking about giving, say you're thinking about, making a $120 contribution, well, maybe you can make that $150. It's up to you. Obviously, I don't want to put anybody in economic distress here, but a little bit of help, just a few extra dollars here and there on every gift. And pretty soon, we're not just keeping the lights on, we're adding another show. We're building a network. I would love to see Free Speech TV get to the point where, like Fox News, they're just running 24/7 continuous and real programming. Let's make that happen. 877-378-8669. Thanks so much for your support of Free Speech TV, and thanks especially today.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. A couple things I wanted to share with you before we pick up your phone calls. The first, I shared this story with you last week, but it's worth revisiting very quickly. This is Joe Romm, who actually is a scientist, has a PhD, blogs over at Center for American Progress's blog, thinkprogress.org. He is the founding editor of Climate Progress, which is their climate blog. The indispensable blog, the New York Times calls it. And kind of the headline and subhead say the whole thing. Trump fuel economy rollback. This is Donald Trump went to Detroit last week and pitched the fact that he's going to roll back the emission standards for cars, which he said is going to create jobs. Now, actually, it does the opposite. If you have higher standards, then companies need to hire new people to develop the catalytic converters and technologies that can meet those standards. And companies need to, invent things that will meet those standards. Restriction produces innovation. It's real simple. And it's true in every dimension of life. If there's not enough food, people figure out a way to make or get food. If there's not enough, fill in a blank, right? People figure out a way. And if you say, okay, you're welcome to sell cars in the United States, but you've got to have a fleet mileage of 40 miles per gallon, they'll figure out a way to get there. I was in L.A. over the weekend, and I was driven home from a dinner that I had with a friend of mine by a guy driving a hydrogen-fueled car, and it was a Honda. And it just looked like a normal Honda. But it was run by a hydrogen fuel cell, powered with a hydrogen fuel cell. I'm like, whoa, this is cool. And it's because it's electric engine, and there's no combustion and no noise, and it's just, you put the foot on the gas, and whoa! It's like a Tesla, it just roars out of the gate, as it were. And you find these things all over California, hydrogen-fueled cars, all-electric cars. Why? Because California has stricter emission standards. And so the car companies are offering these cars in order to keep their fleet mileage down. But by rolling back these fuel standards, Trump is going to cause the average consumer to pay an extra $1,650 in the lifetime of their car, and will also cause you and me to use an additional $1.2 billion of billion gallons, of gasoline, which is more billions of tons of pollutants for the environment, and more poison in the air and more cancer and more asthma and more dependence on Saudi Arabia. This is nuts. Nicholas Baccalar is writing in the New York Times. This was over the weekend. The headline, pretty astonishing. Actually, it was last week. It was March 15th. The headline kind of says the whole thing. Canadians with cystic fibrosis live 10 years longer than Americans with cystic fibrosis. Now, cystic fibrosis is a genetic lung disease that typically kills people in their early 20s or late teens because their lungs don't fully form and they have a hard time breathing and they are prone to horrible lung infections as a consequence of this. And but they live, the average lifespan for an American with cystic fibrosis, according to this article, is 37 years. The average lifespan for a Canadian, 49 years. Why? Because they have a national single-payer health care system. It really just comes down to that. When they look at Canadians and Americans who all have insurance, if they only look at Americans who are fully insured and have never had their insurance lapse, presumably employer-provided insurance, then there's no difference in death rates between Canadians and fully insured Americans throughout their lives. But when they compare Canadians with average Americans, which includes, you know, it was 20% of us 10 years ago, it's around 10 or 11% of us now, who have no insurance whatsoever, people with cystic fibrosis in the United States die 10 years earlier. Can you imagine what the right-wingers would do with that if Canadians died 10 years earlier because of their healthcare system? I mean, it would just, it would be amazing. The next thing I wanted to share with you is an article that was in yesterday's Financial Times about exchange-traded funds, ETFs. And I thought this was absolutely fascinating. We talk about science and economics on this program. This is and personal finance and whatnot. And first of all, you have to know how an ETF works. If you have, and in this case, they're talking about stock index funds. So the Dow Jones Industrial Average is a list of only 30 companies. 3M, American Express, Apple, Boeing, Caterpillar, Chevron, et cetera, et cetera. It's only 30 companies. The Standard & Poor, the S&P 500, is 500 companies. It's actually 505 companies, because 5 of the companies offer 2 different kinds of stock that are both listed as part of the S&P. But the Dow is only 30 companies. So let's just take the Dow, for example. The example works for the S&P, but it's not quite as obvious. If I started an ETF, an exchange-traded fund that is just the Dow, and I come to you and I say, put $10,000 into my fund. You put the $10,000 in, and what I do is I go out and I buy equal amounts of these 30 stocks. You know, that all makes sense, and you kind of own them indirectly, and I charge a small fee off the top, you know, a fraction of a percent for managing this on your behalf, and that's how ETFs work. And then when you come to me and you say, you know, I want my money back, I want to sell my share in the ETF, you know, I say, okay, let me sell the stocks, and here's your money back. Now, this only becomes a problem during cycles of boom and bust. And specifically what that is that when the stock market is booming and there is a bubble, people start pouring money into ETFs like there's no tomorrow. And then when the inevitable crash comes, the inevitable market correction, the ETFs have to start dumping that stock. Now, first of all, they're buying stock like there's no tomorrow because all these people are throwing money into it, which is, you know, you're buying the ETFs, but the ETF company is buying the stocks. So what's that doing? It's driving up the price of the stocks. But secondly, when the stocks hit a certain point, they start to decline and people say, okay, it's time to bail out of the market and I'm going to sell my QQQ or whatever it may be. I'm going to sell my exchange-traded fund on the Dow or on the S&P. At that point, they've got to sell those stocks, and selling stocks in large quantities drives the market down even faster. So it's a prescription for disaster. Now, with that understanding in mind, listen to this story. This is by Chris Flood in yesterday's Financial Times. Exchange-traded funds have attracted the biggest inflow of money in the first 2 months of the year on record. Right, this is beating out the bubble of 2007. This is beating out the bubble of 99 on record. Investors around the world plowed $131 billion into these index tracking funds in the first 2 months of 2017. This follows a record-breaking year in 2016 when ETF managers gathered more than $390 billion in new cash. And then they talk about, everybody's expecting Trump's sweeping tax cuts and large increases in infrastructure spending are going to further drive up the stock market. Well, we will see. But then they quote Nick Nelson, an equity strategist at USB. He says, we've seen a huge amount of money pour into U.S. equity ETFs since the presidential election in November, and that has contributed to a move higher in the stock market. In other words, just what I said. If you put your money into these ETFs, they have to buy the stocks. The stocks then go up because there's more demand for them. Dan Mannix, what's his first name? Chris Flood writes, Dan Mannix, the chief executive of RWC, the UK asset manager that focuses on actively picking stocks, said he feared unsophisticated investors were being, quote, suckered into the market because ETFs were cheap. There are dangers if ETF flows reverse, he said. That is a risk that the tide will turn. This is quoting this Dan Mannix guy. Much of the capital in ETFs is short-term, so we would see rapid outflows followed by a vicious circle where falls in asset prices lead to more selling pressure from ETFs. There's been an 11.6% rally for the S&P 500 since Trump was elected. It's currently trading at a historically high valuation of 18 times future earnings. Albert Edwards, a strategist at Société Générale, the French bank, said U.S. stock market valuation was totally unjustified. ETF investors could find themselves exposed to disappointment unless we see positive news on corporate tax cuts or infrastructure spending, as the earnings cycle in the U.S. equity market has now reached a more mature stage, he said. This is actually a very alarming article. And as I said, it's in today's Financial Times, something worth checking out. And then the last piece I wanted to share with you is also from today's FT. This is by Louise Lucas and Emily Feng. And this was in the weekend paper. And the headline is, China's push to become a tech superpower triggers alarms abroad. And basically, the essence of the story is that China used to be we can manufacture better than you can. We can do it cheaper, we can do it faster, so move your manufacturing operations to China, which, American companies did in droves. Now, China is saying, we're going to become the world's leader in innovation. They have just hired 10,000 people from around the world to work on quantum computing. They want to create the next generation of computers, quantum computers that are so smart that they can think at the level of or better than the human brain. That they can be the innovators of the world. Now, I'm not saying, this is a bad thing. I'm not saying China shouldn't be doing this. They understand what's the best thing for China. But we're not doing anything like that here in the United States. Instead, we're letting our companies merge, acquire each other and merge, and get larger and larger and larger, so they become less and less competitive and less likely, or frankly, even willing to spend the money on innovation. And Trump wants to cut hundreds of millions of dollars out of funding for advanced technology, everything from the National Institutes of Health to funding that supports new technological developments, whether it's how to fight cancer or whether it's how to better deliver graphics on the internet. I mean, Trump wants to cut all that. Well, America shouldn't be the leader of all this stuff. And I commend it to you because it's a brilliant and kind of bizarre look at the different way that a country that actually has command and control capitalism. China is a capitalist country, but the capitalism is being exploited by the government itself, versus a country, the United States, where the capitalists have seized control of the government. And so the government, all it does is support the capitalists in ripping people off and making more money, rather than provoking competition and innovation.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
With more and your calls right after this, Steve. And welcome back. Jesse in Miami, Florida. Hey, Jesse, what's on your mind today?
Hey, hi, Tom. Hey, you right down the line what I want to talk about, the Chinese going high-tech and America trying to compete against them as capitalists. Mm-hmm. Communism versus capitalism. But what I want to talk about is a new concept basically what I was talking about, draining the swamp. Bernie is going to start our revolution, and that was pretty much a lesson from Obama. Yes, we can.
Yeah.
No, we can't.
And OFA.
So what I'm trying to say is, can Bernie, instead of we argue about the term definition of democratic socialism, can we use the term democratic cooperative? And anybody ask, say, well, what does that mean? Mm-hmm. Okay, we know unions are weak because we had the term Buy America, but you buy America and then the firms are moved to China. Mm-hmm. If Bernie could use the term democratic cooperative and tell everybody vote and buy cooperative, mm-hmm. that would get people to understand whereas, okay, if I vote for a politician that's going to want government to do business with worker-owned cooperatives, and then if I tell the people to buy not American, buy American, but buy American co-ops. Mm-hmm. The co-ops just in Cleveland, and they're starting to develop all around the world. Hey, we put our money where our mouth is, democracy. So somebody could be sociable and still be enemies. Yeah. But being cooperative with your enemy, no. Yeah. So I think democratic cooperative would be a better term to get people to vote Democrats, where Democrats could really be representative of a democratic economy instead of, say, vote Democrat, and then you give your money to capitalism and they anti-democratic.
Yeah, so I think you've nailed something, Jesse. I think you've nailed something here. And let me add, for people who are, may not be familiar with the terms that we're using here, co-ops are, worker-owned businesses. There are a number of states that have now allowed the creation of a new type of corporation. It's called a B corporation. C corporations are traditional corporations. S corporations are corporations that you pass through your dollars. LLCs, it can operate either way. But B corporations, beneficent corporations, exist not like nonprofits, first to serve the public need, but to serve their employees, the people who are members of the co-op, the people who own it. And this is not like the customer-owned co-op, like your local health food store. This is more like Union Cab Company in Madison, Wisconsin, or Peninsula Manufacturing in Madison, Wisconsin. These are companies that, and I wrote about both those companies in my book, Threshold. These are companies that are owned by their workers. And so this B corporation type, facilitates that. And there are still some states where it's almost impossible to create a co-op. But the thing that's amazing, Gar Alperovitz talks about this, and he has talked about this in this program. There are more people who work in co-ops right now in the United States than there are union members. This is huge. And you're absolutely right, Jesse. If the government would promote this, it would be a marvelous thing. I wouldn't expect to see that from the Trump administration because B corporations cut the billionaires out of the loop. But it's not a billionaire corporation. But your point is really, really well taken. Jesse, thanks a lot for the call. And thanks for watching Free Speech TV. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. And Ann in Aurora, Illinois. Hey, Ann, what's on your mind?
Hi, how you doing, Tom?
I'm well, Ann. I hope the same is true for you.
Happy Spring Day.
Indeed. Today is the first day of spring. Happy spring to you.
We've been waiting for it. I have a question which is twofold. Do you think Donald Trump is pulling a ruse on the American people, making like he doesn't know anything? No,
I actually think he doesn't know anything.
Well,
no, I'm serious. I mean, when he said over the weekend, when he tweeted that Germany owes us and NATO a bunch of money, that's total nonsense. He clearly doesn't understand how NATO works. You don't pay dues into NATO. What NATO requires is that every country spend 2% of their GDP, of their economy, or maybe it's 2% of their budget. I'm pretty sure it's 2% of GDP though, on military. That's all. Just have a big enough army to be a player. And Germany has been spending 1.2% of their GDP on military, and Angela Merkel just said, okay, we'll take it up to 2%. And other countries are saying that too. But that doesn't mean that they have a debt to pay anybody. Trump clearly doesn't even understand how NATO works. I think he's just profoundly, deeply ignorant. And the reason why he's getting his news from Fox News instead of from his briefers at the CIA and NSA and FBI is that Fox News uses fewer big words.
Do you think he's doing this so he can be impeached with his tweets and stuff like that?
No.
And
I don't. I think he is genuinely running for president in 2020. I got a fundraising email from him just 20 minutes ago, as did everybody else on his email list. He's raising, $20, $30, $50, $70,000 a month, for his campaign, for his presidential campaign. Excuse me, $1 million a month. He's raising millions of dollars every month for his 2020 campaign. He is, he believes this stuff is working to his advantage. And frankly, with his base, it is. It's just that with the rest of America, it's not. Pew has got him down to Gallup has got him down to 37% approval right now, which is unheard of. But he lives in a bubble. He believes it's all good.
Okay, and one other thing. You think there can be a campaign started for pink slips for the Republicans, all the Republicans that are in office?
Yeah, I think the campaign has already started, Ann, and I think people are waking up to how the Republicans are not working in the best interests of the United States. Never have, and frankly, never will. Unless you happen to be a billionaire, then the Republicans are your guys. But, Ann, thank you for the call. Marta in Big Bear Lake, California. Hey, Marta, what's up?
I'm really excited and a little bit afraid. I went to a wonderful event yesterday for the Healthy California Act, which is Medicare for all in California. The reason I'm a little bit worried is because we had this passed in 2006, and Arnold Schwarzenegger vetoed it.
Yeah, it was passed twice, actually, and vetoed twice. Yes.
Exactly. So I think it's just absolutely crucial that we don't sit on the sidelines, like you say. We got to get active on this. It's called SB 562, Senate Bill 562, the Healthy California Act, and the website is www.healthyca.org. And I also want to, from my experience in media as a professional and scholar, I'm very aware of how the lobbyists and the politicians that represent them are using public relations techniques or propaganda techniques to scare us about Canada, how bad their healthcare system is.
Right.
And I did this research a couple of years ago, and then I did it again a few days ago. Canada is number 30. We're number 39 in terms of the best healthcare systems in the world. France is number 1. We need to, just not believe the talking points about Canada. Most of it is fear-based.
Yeah, get to know a Canadian, Marta. That's the thing. That's what anytime any American is trashing Canada's healthcare system, just get to know a Canadian. You will hear a whole different side of the story. Marta, brilliant. Thank you very much. Thanks for your contribution. We'll be back.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
More of the news of the day and your calls right after this. And welcome back. Week 2 of our Free Speech TV fundraising drive. And, I've been trying to set our goals for $10,000 a day, and we made it one day last week. I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday. And the rest of the week was, it started at 4,000. We got as high as 6,000 or 7,000. But we're halfway there today. If you call today with a $10 gift, a $100 gift, a $1,000 gift, or whatever it may be, anything short of $7,000, it will be matched by a donor who has put up a $7,000 challenge grant for today only.
So your $100 becomes $200. Your $360 becomes $720. It's your gift is magically doubled today. So please call now, 877-378-8669. Help us hit our goals so that we can keep this show on the air, we can keep this network on the air, we can keep the electrons flowing and the lights working and you know, the information going. The number 877-378-8669, and you know, even if you can't donate anything, you can call and ask just to put your name on the mailing list. About every month or so, Free Speech TV sends out a little newsletter that kind of summarizes what's going on, and it's really useful. It's kind of a TV guide thing. So please check out. Check that out, 877-378-8669. You can also do it over at the website at freespeech.org. You can donate, or you can sign up for the newsletter and become a member of Free Speech TV, essentially. But the important thing right now, in addition to telling your friends about free speech and spreading the good word, the really important thing right now is to call now and make a contribution today. Today we're trying to really break our record and go for. If we can have a $15,000 day, it cleans up all of last week. And, then going forward, we can do really well, too, hopefully. So please call now, 877-378-8669. With a $60 gift, if you name this program, you get a Free Speech TV water bottle. With a $120 gift, you get a copy of Sarah Van Gelder's new book, The Revolution Where You Live, Stories from a 12,000-Mile Journey Through a New America. Sarah Van Gelder, the former... I think she still is the editor of Yes Magazine. And she was on this program a few weeks ago talking about this book. It's a remarkable book. With a $150 contribution, which again gets doubled to $300. You don't have to put up the $300, but this donor who has made up to a $7,000 match will put in $150 to match your $150, so it becomes $300. With a $150 gift, and that's true of any giving level. With a $150 gift, you get the book by Sarah Van Gelder, The Revolution Where You Live. Where is it? There it is. And the Spirit of Standing Rock DVD, which is really great. With a $240 gift, you get this Spirit of Standing Rock DVD. You get the Free Speech TV water bottle. You get a Free Speech TV grocery bag. You get the Free Speech TV bumper sticker. So all kinds of goodies with a $240 gift. With a $360 gift, you get the Revolution Where You Live book, the Free Speech TV grocery bag, the Free Speech TV hat, the Free Speech TV hand fan, the Free Speech TV bumper sticker, and with a $1,000 gift, come to Washington, D.C., and I'll take you out we'll have pizza. They got good gluten-free pizza, actually, right down the street here. Or, whatever we all decide to do. So we'll have, just come to D.C. and we're trying to get a couple donors together at a time, not a big group, just a small, 2, 3, 4 people, something like that, and have a nice, pleasant afternoon together, or lunch together. And that's with a $1,000 gift. And coming to D.C., I had never lived in D.C. before. I've commuted through D.C. I've done business in D.C., but I'd never played tourist in this town in all my years. And in fact, it was really probably 2 years after we moved here that the family came to visit, and we said, oh, well, let's go play tourist, and discovered this incredible city. 34 Smithsonian museums, all of them totally free. It's really amazing, and very rarely are there even any lines. I mean, it's just because everything is just designed to move people through, and the Air and Space Museum and the Natural History Museum, the African American Museum, the Native American Museum, the Portrait Gallery. It's amazing. The Hirshhorn. I mean, it's just an extraordinary city. So come to D.C. and we'll have lunch with a $1,000 gift. So those are the levels at which you will receive some kind of goodies in exchange for donating. But the important goodie is Free Speech TV continues. We want this network to continue and to strengthen. And so, whatever you were thinking about giving, say you're thinking about, making a $120 contribution, well, maybe you can make that $150. It's up to you. Obviously, I don't want to put anybody in economic distress here, but a little bit of help, just a few extra dollars here and there on every gift And pretty soon, we're not just keeping the lights on, we're adding another show. We're building a network. I would love to see Free Speech TV get to the point where, like Fox News, they're just running 24/7 continuous and real programming. Let's make that happen. 877-378-8669. Thanks so much for your support of Free Speech TV, and thanks especially today.
Want to connect with the show online? You can find the Thom Hartmann Program on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All the important stories we cover and the issues we care about are at hartmanreport.com. Members of our community can comment and join the conversation. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. Got a little geeky science story here. Do we have easily available the geeky science intro? Here it is. It's time for our geeky science. That's our geeky science alert? Okay, great. All right. Nick Kristof, writing in the New York Times a week or so ago, the headline, "Are your sperm in trouble?" Everybody doing the Scooby-Doo. What did he say? Well, at least all the men who are listening. He says sperm counts appear to have dropped sharply in the last 75 years, but the scientists say an increasing proportion of sperm, 90% in a typical young man, are misshapen, sometimes with 2 heads and 2 tails. We have mutant sperm. Now, this is an issue about the future of our species. In the Journal of Endocrinology, Andrea Gore, professor of pharmacology at UT Texas at Austin, says semen quality and fertility in men have decreased. Not everyone who wants to reproduce will be able to, and the cost of male disorders to quality of life and the economic burden of society are inestimable. This, we're also seeing an explosion in testicular cancer, in prostate cancer, and breast cancer, and all these things that are associated with male and female hormones. And one recent study found that of sperm donor applicants in Hunan province, China, this is not unique to the United States, 56% qualified in 2001. By 2015, only 18% qualified. What is going on? Well, Canadian scientists conducted a 7-year experiment on a lake in Ontario, adding endocrine-disrupting chemicals. And these are the chemicals that are used to make plastics and to make many pharmaceuticals. They're all over the. If you get a receipt from any store that's printed on thermal paper, which almost all of them are now, these things are covered with an endocrine-disrupting chemical that passes through your skin. Sometimes the food that we get is packaged in stuff that is lined with these hormone-disrupting chemicals. And they go on to note the crisis for male reproductive health seems to begin in utero. Male and female fetuses start pretty much the same, and then hormones drive differentiation. And they go through all this thing. The larger question is, why do we allow the chemical industry, by spending $10,000 of lobbying per member of Congress every year, why do we allow them to buy their way out of effective regulation of endocrine disruptors? The industry's deceit marks, writes Kristof, the industry's deceit marks a replay of Big Tobacco's battle against the regulation of smoking. He says our human future will be only as healthy as our sperm. Yeah. And of course, our eggs as well. It's amazing. It's amazing that we've got this epidemic going on, and nobody's talking about it except Nick Kristof at an op-ed for the New York Times. David in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Hey, David, what's on your mind today?
Good afternoon. Well, I was responding to 2 Fridays ago. You had talked about the earthquakes and the the fracking wells in Oklahoma.
Correct.
And you asked for somebody knowledgeable to call in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I am responding to that.
Okay.
And I have worked in the oil and gas industry for over 20 years, and part of it, that's a whole other story unto itself. Now, the March 5th Tulsa World had an article that said that 3 out of 20 claims, earthquake claims, have actually been filed. They have actually received any kind of award. The majority are ignored, mostly because they're only for catastrophic.
Now, are these claims against the state government, or are these claims against insurance companies?
Against insurance companies, and very few people have earthquake coverage to begin with. Because
in Oklahoma, yeah.
Didn't have earthquakes.
Right. But if you try and buy earthquake coverage in Oklahoma right now, I'm guessing the price has gone up a little?
Oh, it's almost 200-fold.
Yeah.
Of course, this is all politics are local, and here's where it gets interesting, because we've been a very red state. We try to compete with Kansas and Texas as far as who can be redder, who can be more fulfill more of the ALEC agenda. And one of the things that we have is the Department of Department of Environmental Quality, which, you know, they like to point to, the EPA, we need to get rid of it because it's on a state level. Well, they defanged the DEQ a long time ago. Mostly, Mary Fallon came in, and it's really been, decimated. Of course, Brad Henry didn't do any good, and Frank Keating, of course, was just a wonderful on that. Now, first of all, in fracking, you're talking about different shell layers. And when you frack, you put in a brine, which of course is proprietary, so nobody can actually know what's in it. Of course, in my end of the spectrum, it actually matters because we start sizing pumps and electrical and all such things.
Plus, you get the stuff all over you.
So, you do find out a few things about it. And then you have what's known as the brine wastewater wells, which are much, much deeper. They're different formations. And essentially, it's still a porous sandstone. And this gets into geology and how the different earth shells will appear, Marcellus shell or Pennsylvania shell or the Osage shell will appear. They will go shallower and shallower and deeper according to how the earth is deformed. Now, these shells are very deep, and they have not, as far as they know, they don't have the water content that the other shells do. Now, you talk about the aquifer, you're much, much higher, at least supposedly, you're much, much higher. And they like to swear that there's no migration between the layers. But we know from early 90s that they did one thing with a tracing element. They put in a radioactive isotope, and
it showed up in the aquifer, yeah. David, I have a question for you, but first I wanted to make sure that you made your main point. Have you done so?
Yes and no. It also gets into local monies because things aren't funded. You talk about funding coming from the EPA to go to the DEQ, but if they cut off the funding to the DEQ, well, money that's spent locally, that stays in the local economy, doesn't show up.
Well, and even if they don't cut off the funding, I mean, one of the reasons why you get groups like ALEC and other groups that are supported by national oligarchs like the Koch brothers, why they are always talking about local control, is that it's a hell of a lot cheaper to buy local authorities. And it's a lot less risky. You're less likely to be prosecuted for bribery than if you walk into the EPA and try and buy off some, career government officials. And so there's that. But I have a question for you, David. You worked in this field. David, I have a question for you.
Toxic elements, when they get into the wastewater disposable, now we can talk about PCBs and all kinds of things.
Well, that's what I wanted to talk about. David, a question for you. I remember back in the 70s or 80s, 60 Minutes did this big expose. They found all these roads in upstate New York and southern Vermont, New Hampshire, and western Massachusetts that were like cancer alleys, roads where people were getting cancer just living on the roads. And they tried to figure out what the hell is going on here. And what they finally figured out was that these were dirt roads that had been sprayed with oil to inhibit the dust. And the companies that were spraying the oil were mafia connected. And what they were doing was they were going to companies that produced toxic waste, petrochemical toxic waste. And some of these chemicals, these companies have to pay to have these chemicals disposed of. The stuff that, Hooker or whatever the company was disposed at Love Canal. They used to have to actually pay to have these incinerated. Typically, it takes a real high temperature to break up these long-chain carbon, these long-chain carbohydrates. And it can be very expensive. I mean, some of these chemicals cost literally $1,000 a pound to dispose of. So these companies were selling their toxic waste to this mafia front company that said it was doing the disposal, but it was doing it for 30% less than everybody else did, which seems technically impossible. And it was impossible because the companies were then taking that and diluting it with 100,000 gallons of gas or of oil for road oil and spraying these toxic chemicals on these roads, which was causing this epidemic of cancer. That was a big story on 60 Minutes about 30 years ago. It kind of went away over time, and I don't know whatever happened with it, but I always wondered if the companies that manufacture the toxic waste, that's the petrochemical industry and the petroleum industry, the refinery industry, and if the companies that dispose of the toxic waste figured out a new way to get rid of it, essentially the same thing. You know, let's bury it where nobody will look at it, by making the fracking chemical concoction that Dick Cheney got defined as a proprietary top secret formula, by making that basically the super expensive toxic waste that they used to have to pay to get rid of. Is that possible?
Ding, ding, ding. Ding, 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 ding. Yeah, you hit part of it right there.
Yeah.
There's an interesting local story here in Tulsa. We had a guy that had a piece of land, and he was running an injection well, but the guy was an idiot. And he's injecting all this crap that he's getting from God knows where, and it's going into the local aquifer.
Yikes.
So they get shut down by the DEQ. So you can't do that. Your waste is going into other people's property. And it's, by God, it's my property. I could do what I want. I met this man. He's a great fan of Jim Hennehoff. And this was about the time that when they privatized the gas utility, but that's another story. Anyway, so he's going on and on about that, and it's too much regulation from the DEQ and too much regulation from the EPA. And he started back up. And they went in and they said, you can't do this. You've got barrels sitting here of all kinds of stuff. Mm-hmm. And at one point in time, his place actually exploded and caught fire.
Whoa.
And they couldn't approach it because the toxic fumes that were coming off were just so much. And then he filed for bankruptcy and went away, and, we haven't heard from him since. But
right, although his poison was left behind.
Meanwhile, everybody that's still around in that property area, their water to this day is undrinkable.
That's amazing. That's amazing. David, thank you for the story. Thank you for validating my... I've had people tell me I'm paranoid with this theory, but it's the only thing that makes sense about why Cheney would work so hard to keep the fracking formulas proprietary, to keep them secret. Because if it was, stuff that was not deadly toxic or supposed to be disposed of in some other way, then why not just publish it? It seems like it should be no big deal. David, thank you for the call. It's great to hear from you. Thanks for listening to Sirius XM. We'll be back.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
Back with more of your calls right after this. And welcome back. Polly in Frederick, Maryland. Hey, Polly, what's on your mind today?
Oh, hi, Don. Tom, thank you so much. My daughter is very, very handicapped with cerebral palsy, and she's mentally impaired. She can't talk. She's wheelchair-bound, and she attends a wonderful day program in Westminster, Maryland. And recently, the state of Maryland sent notice to many of the parents there that the Medicaid funding was cut. The Medicaid pays for tuition for these parents. How could they cut this?
Wow.
This
yeah.
makes no sense.
Well, Maryland now has a Republican legislature, don't they?
I'm sorry?
Doesn't Maryland now have a Republican legislature?
Yeah, I don't know how. He's a Democratic state.
Yeah, no, you've got a Democratic governor, but or no, wait a minute, I'm thinking of Virginia, Terry McAuliffe in Virginia. Yeah, I'm not that familiar with Maryland's politics. I'm sorry, but have you called your state legislator or your state senator and asked them?
I'm going to try and get the ARC to start a march. This is just shameful.
Yeah, it is shameful.
Right to life can justify this.
Yeah, when you talk to your senator and your member of the House in the state of Maryland there, and you find out what's at the bottom of this, would you call us up and let us know?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, Polly, I'm curious. This is not good, and this is not, this is pre-Trump budget, not post, so it's kind of unexpected. Polly, thank you for the call. Good luck. Lou in Durango, Colorado. Hey, Lou, what's up?
Oh, I was curious about something I ran across in Daily Kos. It's a writ of mandamus before the Supreme Court. It was filed January 18th of this year. It has a docket number of 16-907, and it's seeking to repeal or revote the presidential election. It says the main argument for the writ is that per Article 4, subsection 4 of the U.S. Constitution, it is the job of the federal government to keep the U.S. territory safe from foreign invasion. The Constitution stipulates the United States shall guarantee to every state in the Union a republican form of government and shall protect each of them against invasion. The petition cites evidence of such an invasion, namely the Russian hacking, and asks that the entire 2016 election be nullified, all the way back to the primaries, on the grounds that cyber territory in the U.S. was invaded with the intention of altering the results of our presidential election.
Yeah.
The petitioners seek an entirely new election.
Wouldn't that
I
be
haven't
nice?
heard about this anywhere other than Daily Kos, and I was wondering.
Yeah.
Perhaps
No, there have been a number of people talking about this over time, Jim, or Lou, excuse me. It's not going to happen. I mean, it's just the Republicans control the House and Senate, and they're very happy with the outcome of the election. So they're not going to say, oh, gee, let's have a new election, which Hillary Clinton would almost certainly win, and win huge.
Right.
But, you know, that's not going to happen. But if it is found that that any foreign government, specifically in this case Russia, but, you know, frankly, we've had our elections interfered with, I would say Israel, Bibi Netanyahu coming here to the United States and while President Obama is the sitting president of the United States and going around the State Department to give a speech before Congress. I mean, that's talk about, you know, messing with internal American politics. So we've, you know, there's plenty of precedent for this. Other countries involving themselves in our politics to their advantage, and Israel's at the top of that list, I would say. But if Russia did this, you know, we need to nail that down, and we need to go after them, and we need to, you know, it's just like if the United States was messing in Russia's election. This is something that countries should not do. But we don't know yet. We need to find out. And, you know, the evidence seems to be accumulating or developing. Let's find out. And if it turns out it was, I would be totally supportive of a new election. I'm just saying the Republicans won't do it. Lou, thanks for the call. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. Coming up on 10 minutes before the hour. Aaron in Cortland, Illinois. Hey, Aaron, what's on your mind?
Hey, how are you, Tom?
Good. What's up?
It's a pleasure. You know, I'm a musician, and I was listening to the guy before. He was talking about how, you know, he had such a conservative, fiscally conservative view. He's talking about it's almost like, you know, just it's like he got his education. He's got his creativity. He's a musician, and everyone else should just starve.
Mm.
You know, music is the audible pulse of discontent, and it seems as though the people who the ruling elite of this country, they want to legislate our mood because they don't want us to speak out.
That is
and what more effective mode of communication is there than music?
Yeah, that is brilliant, Aaron. Music is the audible mode, did you say, of discontent?
I said pulse.
Pulse. Yeah, that's even more visceral. That's brilliant. The music is the audible pulse of discontent. Yeah, and I completely agree, and that's why they don't want the arts, because the arts are typically. I mean, good art is in your face. You know, good art is on the edge. Good art is innovative, and on the edge, in your face, innovative. Those are all, you know, anathema to Republican values. Aaron, thank you for the call. Thanks for listening to WCPT. Arlene in Danbury, Wisconsin. Hey, Arlene, what's on your mind? Thanks for watching Free Speech TV.
I'd like to know what your thought is on Trump and company going to Mar-a-Lago every weekend. As far as I'm concerned, he and his crew, the Secret Service, and all the people who go with him, this money is all charged for their housing, their food, the whole weekend.
Yeah, it costs us
charged back to our government.
Yeah, it costs us $3 million a weekend for that, and it's costing $1 million a day for Melania to stay in New York City.
Yeah,
and we're all paying that.
The government sends the check to Trump's business because he owns Mar-a-Lago.
Right.
So where's the outcry? Where's the outrage from everyone that he's doing this every weekend, putting money in his own business?
Well, and keep in mind, this is the guy who was complaining about President Obama. President Obama, his entire year's vacation and discretionary family trips, the entire year costs less money than the first 5 months of the Trump administration going to Mar-a-Lago and keeping Melania in New York City. So, and Trump was saying, well, I'm not going to play golf that often. He's played golf 9 times in the 5 weeks he's been president, or 6 weeks, or however long it's been.
And who's paying for that?
We are. Obviously, you and me.
And where does that money go?
Well, if he's in Mar-a-Lago, that money is going into the Trump organization. Surprise, surprise. And I'm outraged about it, Arlene, and I think a lot of other people are. But it doesn't mean we can do anything about it, and the media is largely ignoring it. Arlene, thank you for the call. Spot on. Dave in Burlington, Illinois. Hey, Dave, what's on your mind?
It's Hoffman Estates.
I'm sorry, say it again.
It's Hoffman Estates, Illinois.
Oh, okay, great.
Okay, anyway, that's here and there. Are you familiar with this Enbridge's Line 5?
Is that the oil pipeline that runs from Illinois toward Michigan?
No, that's the one that originates somewhere around Superior, Wisconsin, goes all the way through the UP of Michigan and underneath the Mackinac Bridge comes out in Sarnia, Ontario.
Okay, no. I mean, I know about it, but now, yeah. What about it?
Well, they had an article in the local paper up there now that they found like 18 spots on it where the protective covering on the outside is worn away.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and but the company, says that's, nothing to worry about, even though these pipelines, they were put in like 1953. And in these pipes, they're 2 20-inch pipes that about 23 million gallons of crude oil and liquid natural gas are pumped daily through Line 5.
Wow.
Which runs from Superior, Wisconsin, along Michigan's UP to Sarnia, Ontario.
Right, and right underneath, if it's going under Mackinac, it's going right underneath the confluence of Lakes Huron, Michigan, and Superior.
Correct.
And at the same time that Donald Trump is zeroing out the budget of the Great Lake, I forget the name of the agency, but it basically protects the Great Lakes.
Yeah. And
this is nuts. People in Michigan have to be outraged.
I could forward you these stories.
I'm sorry?
Do you have an email address I could forward?
No, but if you post them to ThomHartmann.com, to our daily blog, I read the blog every day, and that's the best way to communicate with me. You can just post links there, and we'll get them. So, Dave, thanks for the heads up on that. That's pretty grim news. I appreciate it.
Enjoy that. Okay.
Thank you. Good talking to you. Bob in Farmington, Missouri. Bob, last minute of the show is yours. What's up?
Did you hear about the Florida prisoner that got boiled alive by 4 prison guards?
Yeah, I saw the headline. I just couldn't bring myself to read the article. It looked pretty bad.
Nobody's going to charge the prison guards.
Yeah, that was the essence of the headline.
They're going to walk. What's happened to our country, Tom?
Well, I mean, when was the last time that you know that a cop went to prison for killing a black person, an unarmed black person?
I know.
It's just, we in our society, we don't value people who are at the bottom of the social and economic pile. And we have organized that pile in a very specific way to make sure that white men are at the very top of it and, white women below them and then on down from there. And it's something that's got to change, but it pervades our, every kind of institution we have, from government to prisons to policing to, but it's particularly obvious in those areas where the people who are enforcing the social order, who are enforcing the rule of law, as it were, or at least the rule of society, when they abuse their power, that's when it becomes really obvious. And, Bob, your point is well taken. We need some serious outrage. Bob, thank you very much for the call. It's great to hear from you. And thank you all for calling today, for being on our program, for listening or watching our program. And don't forget, democracy is not a spectator sport. It's not enough to just vote. It's not enough to sit around and complain. Yes, we do need to wake up our friends and neighbors. We do need to get them using, alternative media or, progressive media. By the way, I've got a new article up on alternate.org. Check it out. But, it really gets down to us. Tag, you're it. We'll see you tomorrow.
You've been listening to Thom Hartmann. For audio and video archives, visit ThomHartmann.com.
The Thom Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by the Aiden Forecast, an investment newsletter with weekly updates of leading market indicators and a monthly deep dive into what the details of the economy and the markets mean for investors and retirees. On the web at aidenmarkets.com.
Wines have some of the highest pesticide levels in our food chain. This hour brought to you by ecowine.com. Pesticide-free wines, organic wines, imported from France by the Organic Wine Company, ecowine.com.
The Thom Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by Super Beets. Super beets are sourced from non-GMO beets, and they're packed with dietary nitrates, helping to produce nitric oxide for more energy, stamina, and support for healthy blood pressure levels naturally. For more information, call 800-223-8242 or visit freespeechbeets.com.